All right, thank you, City Clerk. We are back from our closed session. City Attorney, is there any reportable action from the closed session?
No reportable action.
With that, we will adjourn the Selma City Council special meeting. We've been at this since 4:30, so we're going to take just a brief 5-minute break and then we'll get back and start our regular meeting. Thank you, everybody. Now starting our Selma City Council regular meeting. It's March 4th, 2024. It is 6:18 PM in the Selma City Council chambers at 1710 Tucker Street in Selma, California, 93662. The teleconference phone number is 301-715-8592. The webinar ID is 891-6864-5005. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press *9 to raise your hand and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press *6 to unmute and mute yourself. Tonight's invocation will be from Pastor Efren Delgado from the Selma Church of God. Welcome, Pastor. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you guys for coming here today. Let's start with prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you in the mighty name of Jesus, Father God. We pray, Father, that you'll be at the center stage of this meeting, Father God. I pray for peace upon this meeting, and I pray for wisdom in this meeting, Father God, for you are in control, Father God. We just pray that you'll direct this meeting, Father God, and guide us, Father God. We live in a world full of darkness, Father God, and we just pray that you'll lead us out of this darkness, Father God, and make a way where there seems to be no way, Father God. We'll start with you and we'll end with you, Father God. Thank you for blessing each and every one of us here today, Father God. We give you all the praise and all the glory, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the flag salute. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you call the roll, please, City Clerk?
Councilmember Guerra,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member who has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Agenda changes or deletions to better accommodate members of the public or inconvenience in the order of presentation. Items on the agenda may not be presented or acted upon in the order listed. Additions to the agenda may be added only pursuant to California Government Code, Section 54954.2b. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the City Council regarding any item over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes and direct their remarks towards the City Council only. Do we have any oral communications at this time? It's your time.
Thank you. Mayor Robertson, members of the council, my name is Dwight Nelson, 2755 Automobile Drive. Here tonight because I understand Caltrans is going to be appearing to discuss a road project. I don't know if it's the Highway 40 or Highway 99 construction work that's going on, but if it is, the reason I came is because I could get no one else from the city of Selma's management department, city manager or assistant city manager, or even the dog catcher to meet with me to discuss this, because it's of great importance to us that the off-ramp to Floral Avenue or to Highway 43 remain open. We believe that there is a way to accommodate that. We've asked for a meeting with Caltrans. Caltrans has refused to meet to discuss it. I've asked for Mr. John Trujillo to talk to me. He, by his action, has refused to talk to me. I've asked to be able to meet with Jerome. Jerome has refused to meet with me. And so I'm forced to come here tonight. Israelian, we remember reminiscing about back in 1984-85 when he was with the city and I was on the planning commission. You could walk in any day and talk to Pete Israelian and he would talk to you. You didn't have to make an appointment. I can't make an appointment. I've tried letters, emails, phone calls, everything. And I'm going, what's wrong with talking about the possibility of keeping that off-ramp open? And we believe that there is an engineering way that Caltrans could do that and would then allow us to have our businesses continue to employ the number of people that we have employed in Selma and to not continue to have to keep losing money like we're doing right now. So my request is that we be able to meet with someone from the city and preferably with Caltrans as well to discuss this. And I'm going to go to you, Mr. Mayor, to see if possibly you could ask that that occur. That's why I'm here tonight.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, Mr. Nelson. I know the city manager has heard your comments, deputy city manager. And I know everyone is listening. This is a very good night for you to be here because yes, indeed, Caltrans is here. They will be making a presentation about that very topic of the exit and the lane closures that are affecting you and your business, not to mention the whole city. So at that time, I think it would probably be appropriate for you to enter your public comment at that time, if that's, we're going to have public comment again
Okay. I didn't-
after their presentation,
All right. Thank
and
you
then
very
we'll
much.
go from there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you.
1057 Mill Street, Rosa Gallardo Robertson. I'm here to correct myself. I want to apologize. I did state that come July 2024 that the trash rates would be higher than what they are currently. I just want to apologize. I was flabbergasted with the salaries that were going to the shelters, so that really threw me off. But I am still here to state that the three council members, Trujillo, Cho, and Blanca Navarro are still voting, still voted for us taxpayers to pay for higher rates than Cagula. Cagula was the lowest, and I do have the rates here. Thank you.
Anyone else with a public comment?
Twenty-four 77 Country Club Lane, Parveen Sandu. I just wanted to get an update on the incident, the homicide incident that happened on February 23rd. It did involve Sikh temple. It's very sad that one of our preachers had passed away. And wanted to know what was happening. Is that a hate crime? Is our community being targeted? Us as the Sikh community would like some information and updates. It was very, very sad of what happened. And we honestly don't feel safe even going to our place of worship because it is open 24 hours a day. There were calls made from the Sikh temple for needing assistance. And then just a few days later, last Thursday, there was also another shooting at Carl's Jr. So don't feel safe in the community. We would like an update of body cams, what's happening with that, and just overall, there's a lot going on with safety concerns within the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Five 61 Stillman Street, space 76, Selma, California. My name is Carmen, and most of you know me. I do face painting. I do it for the churches and any nonprofit organization. I do one event a year, and that is the Selma Raisin Festival. I go in there, and most of you have seen me there. You know what I do. I don't charge a lot for what I do because we are a poor community. And I do send a lot of them for free because the kids want them and the parents can't afford them. Saying that, the first thing I want to bring up is the business license. Now, why am I paying $500 or more for a business license for one event? That's the only one I do. Why do I have to pay so much plus space rent and all these fees? And by the time I'm done, it's not worth it. The only thing that makes it worth it is the smiles on the kids' face. I mean, it's a joy that nobody can experience but me. I see those kids out there with their faces painted and they're just playing and having fun, experiencing their whatever it is I painted on their face. We're poor people. We don't have that kind of money to put out for business licenses. Especially since we haven't had to have one in the past. Now all of a sudden we do. I think it's unfair and it's wrong. On the license, there is on page, number 6, I believe it is, it talks about different locations. I don't work out of my house. I work where my work takes me. Whether it be at the park, Pioneer Village, out in the country, wherever it is. In here, it says that I have to have a license for each of those locations. Not fair. The licenses are more than what I make. How would you like to have a business where every day you don't make money, but you go in the hole? That's what I would be doing. And I'm not the only one. There's several people that go there to help sell the wares that they make at home. They can't afford that fee. They're like me. They don't have that kind of money. It's just, it's terrible. You guys need to rethink that. $500 because I don't have a they say I have a brick and mortar home. Well, I live in a mobile home and I still can't afford it. I live on a limited income and I know a lot of people don't have the money. We need to really think this over again and really think hard on what that $500 will do to somebody.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Stuart Skoglund. I'm the operations manager for Cal Water here in Selma, 2042 2nd Street. Just wanted to share a couple of things that I've experienced here recently with Public Works, a couple of things that ended on a positive note. The first one was back in January. We had a very bad water main leak at the intersection of Country Club and Evergreen. And it was bad enough to where the city stepped in, Public Works. They closed the intersection for us so that we could get the work done, which was a huge help and a cost savings for us as well. Also, the next morning, they helped us by getting out there with the street sweeper and cleaned up the street. So a big thank you to Public Works for helping us out. There was something that happened on President's Day last month where the city had a really bad leak out at Pioneer Village. And there was a valve they needed to get shut off to stop the leak. They couldn't shut the valve off, so they called us for assistance because the next alternative was to shut off a service that would shut off Cattleman's, and that was already becoming a huge problem with the restaurant manager. So they called us. We were able to send out some employees with a mechanical valve truck. We were able to get the valve turned off, leak stopped, Cattleman's didn't go out of water, and everybody was happy. So just wanted to kind of share those two things. I know you all don't hear about all the little things that go on, but I'm just thankful that Cal Water has such a good relationship with Public Works, Fire, Police. We all work pretty well together. Even when things get kind of rough, sometimes we continue to work together, and the end result is usually a good one. So just wanted to share that all with you.
Great.
So
Thanks for letting us know.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Stella Ramirez, Selma, California. I'm also here in regards to safety. So far, since January, there's been a total of 5 shootings in Selma. Statistically, if you look at it, it's 2 shootings per month. The first one was in Whitson, and the same suspect also shot someone at Layla Market. And as far as I know, he wasn't caught. So the third one happened on Highland and Rose. It was a carjacking and a shooting. And unfortunately, the victim did not survive in that one. Also on social media, because these 3 were confirmed by Selma Police Department, but the other 2 at Carl's Jr. and the liquor locker, those are the ones that we heard about it on social media. So I don't know if I know the one in Carl's Jr. did happen, but liquor locker, I'm not sure, it's on social media. But there's been 5 since January, and that's a lot. And I'm here because I want to know what's going to be done about it. How are we going to address this? How are we going to, the community, like Parvin said, we're worried for our safety. We're even afraid to go out there at night because we don't know, even during the day, we don't know what's going to happen. So I know that the mayor touched on this last time about a substation. And I know they're pricey, but I was thinking, what if we got like a pop-up trailer substation? We could put it in one location for 2 or 3 days and then move it to another area. That way we can feel safer and, something happens and the police department is right there. Also, I haven't seen checkpoints in a while. Can we put money there on checkpoints? Like hire more police officers? I don't know. But something, like I said, we need to address this now before it gets out of control, because that's 5 and we're barely in March. Thank you.
I believe the police chief sent out a report on January statistics, historical. Will that be part of the city managers or the police chief's presentation tonight, or is that something that'll be available on the website?
We can discuss the report.
Thank you. Any other oral communications? Do we have anybody online or on Zoom that would like to make a comment at this time, City Clerk?
As a reminder to those callers online, please use the raise your hand feature and we will add you to the meeting queue. For those calling in, please use *9 to raise your virtual hand. Mayor Robertson, at this time, I see no hands raised.
All right, thank you. With that, we will move on from oral communications to our first special presentation of the night, which is a certificate of recognition for Mr. Pete Israelian, and we're going to do this down at the podium. I've known Mr. Israelian for a long, long time. He's been a pillar of the community. Like one of the speakers said earlier, Mr. Nelson, another pillar of the community. Pete and the city have been synonymous, and we just want to say thank you to you for your really lifetime of service tonight. Tonight we're talking about your time on the mosquito abatement board, and this certificate of recognition tonight is being presented to you, Mr. Pete Israelian, on behalf of all the citizens of Selma, the Selma City Council. We recognize you for serving as a board of trustee member for the Consolidated Mosquito Abatement District for an impressive 38 years. That's a lot longer than a lot of people have been alive in this room, Mr. Israelian.
You're not even that old.
No, these shoes they're older than that. Representing the city of Selma, you have consistently exhibited a steadfast dedication to public health and the welfare of the residents of Selma. Your commitment to public service has established a praiseworthy benchmark for community engagement and civic duty. And I would also add that Mr. Israelian is the one that came up with the slogan, "Sell Selma," because that's an important part of our city. Always putting our best foot forward, and we can do that with community folks like yourself, who really been such a great example to all of us for public service. Tonight, we present on behalf of the City Council, on behalf of Mayor Pro Tem Beverly Cho, Councilmember Sarah Guerra, Blanca Mendoza Navarro, and John Trujillo. I would like to present you with this certificate of lifetime appreciation from the City of Selma and ask you if you would just say a few words tonight to us in the audience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scott Robertson and members of the City Council. It's been a pleasure representing the City of Selma for the past 38 years on the Consolidated Mosquito Abatement District Board of Trustees. For those of you who are not that familiar with the Consolidated Mosquito Abatement District, it serves and protects 1,085 square miles of Fresno and Kings County, including 8 incorporated cities, part of Fresno and all of Clovis, etc., and all of the rural areas beyond the cities. Over the years, I've served as president of the, multiple times, of the 11-person Consolidated Board of Trustees, as well as president of the State of California, a Trustees Association. As you, the council, recognized in the district, in my district's annual report sent to the City Council, the Consolidated Mosquito Abatement District is considered one of the outstanding mosquito control districts in the state of California and the United States. I want to commend you, the City Council, for your selection of my replacement in the appointment of Charles Smith, a longtime Selma resident and a retired department head of Consolidated Mosquito Abatement. So he will hit the ground running, I'm sure. I'm sure he'll do an excellent job in representing the City of Selma. So once again, I thank you for the recognition of service to the City of Selma. It's been my pleasure to represent the city and the community of Selma for 38 years. Thank you again, and we hope that I still have some energy in me to continue to serve the city in some capacity. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to our second special presentation tonight, which is a road construction project update from the California Department of Transportation, otherwise known as Caltrans.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mayor Scott Robertson and the rest of the council members for allowing us to be here today and be able to provide information regarding the next phase change for our State Route 99 Selma to Fowler Rehabilitation Project. My name is Alex Aguilera. I represent Caltrans District 6 Public Information for the Kings County and Fresno County. As we know, the State Route 99 Selma to Fowler Rehabilitation Project, the scope of the project runs from McCall Avenue undercrossing in the city of Selma to Merced Street undercrossing in the city of Fowler. As we move on to the next phase of stage 6, phase 2 will consist of reopening the southbound on-ramp from Route 43 and Floral Avenue. Will also consist of reopening the southbound on-ramp from 2nd Street. We will also be closing the southbound off-ramp to Route 43 and Floral Avenue. In this closure, we'll be constructing about 1,300 feet along the southbound lanes and shoulders with reinforced concrete. We will also be removing and replacing the existing pavement of the southbound off-ramp with asphalt. And we will also be constructing 200 feet of jointed plain concrete at the end of off-ramp at Route 43. We will also be replacing 4 curb ramps at the off-ramp to Route 43 and Floral Avenue. In the next slide, we provide a aerial view of the area where the Floral Avenue off-ramp and the State Route 43 off-ramp divide. Along the main line before approaching the off-ramp, you'll see highlighted in green, that section of the main lane will be continuously reinforced concrete pavement. As we continue along the off-ramp, we'll be pouring hot mix asphalt represented in yellow. Where the off-ramp divides between Floral Avenue and State Route 43, towards the end of the 43 connector ramp, we'll be using jointed plain concrete pavement, and that'll be highlighted in blue. During this phase of stage 6, we'll be providing a detour along Manning Avenue. From Manning Avenue, traffic will be redirected to Golden State Boulevard and continue south on Highland to Route 43. In regards to scheduling, we project that the beginning of stage 6 construction will start March 17th, 2024. As we've noticed this past weekend, we do have rain coming off and on. Weather permitting, will be starting on March 17th. The project will run for a duration of 2 months and end tentatively in May of 2024. In regards to public outreach for the project, we will continue to provide updates on our social media pages, on our Caltrans Facebook page, our Instagram, and our Twitter page as well. Our Public Affairs Department will continue to communicate with the city staff in Selma, and our commuter alert updates will be provided to the media outlets and news outlets here in Fresno County. We'd like to thank you for the time once again, and this concludes our presentation. If anyone has questions regarding the project or would like to reach out to me with the Public Information Department, my name is Alex Aguilera. My phone number is provided as well. And for any more information regarding the project, we welcome everyone to go ahead and visit our Caltrans website, where they can find information regarding this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. With that, I'll bring it back to the city council. Does the city council have questions or comments before we open it up to the public for comments?
Oh, the only comment I have is I just drove off of the 43 and there's a huge pothole right as soon as you come off the freeway. I think you're gonna address it when this happens, but it's a pretty good sized pothole on the right lane as you're merging to the 43. Huge.
Yes, in meetings that pothole has been brought up, and it will be addressed once we begin this next phase of the project.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments for Mr. Aguilera at this time? With that, we'll open it up to the public. Mr. Nelson, I know you had a comment for the city council. Would you like to stand up and readdress your question to refresh all of our memories and maybe get Mr. Aguilera's response?
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. So you have to wonder, when something so dramatic, and I know none of you really understand just how dramatic this is about to happen, why no one from Caltrans will meet with us, why no one from the city management staff will meet with us to discuss the possibility of an alternate plan to allow this closure to, number one, not affect both off-ramps at the same time. Number two, to allow a different plan that would allow access still coming south from Fresno, Madera, all parts north, to get into Selma without having to go through a detour on Manning to Golden State Boulevard, down to Highland Avenue, and then try to get into Selma. The fact that there's a total refusal to meet and discuss it is just, to me, it's not what we in Selma should be doing. More importantly, it's not what you as council members should be doing, because you as council members represent all of the community members of this town and all the businesses of this town. And this is one individual here that has several businesses that has asked and asked and asked, could we please meet? Could we please discuss this? There may be an alternate way that would save the closure of both off-ramps at the same time. I understand that they have to be closed, but they don't have to both be closed at the same time. And we have engineers that have looked at this. Yes, it's going to be a change order for Caltrans. Personally, I don't care what it costs Caltrans, because they have disrupted the traffic coming through Selma for a long time, through Fowler for a long time. Their estimates of time are grossly underestimated. They always are. They never complete their work when they say they're going to complete it. And then it's also, oh, well, just we'll get it done as quick as we can. It's very frustrating. Why won't the city allow, I would change that. Why won't the city dictate to your city manager or your assistant city manager to meet with us and discuss the possibility and have a council member present so you can actually understand what we're talking about? That work that's going on right now, that started when Caltrans started it, you ask Caltrans, how much longer has it taken to do what they've done right now? That portion, don't look at me like I'm a bad guy, because I'm not.
Mr. Nelson, keep your comments this way.
That portion has been a mess. The work that goes on, we understand that has to go on, but there's also other ways to minimize the impact to businesses. And my businesses currently, because of what's happened already with the road construction, people that work at my business that have to drive out of Fresno, women that are scared to death to drive to Selma.
We got it. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. That's your 3 minutes, and I get what you're saying. Alex is the PIO here. I don't know if he has a lot of purview in terms of or access to changing Caltrans plans, but you do speak with Caltrans when you go back, right? You speak with management, and that's who you talk to, and that's where you get your information, right, Alex? When you brief them about what you talked about in Selma?
Yes, sir. During our weekly meetings, we do go over the next steps that we plan to take during this process. And like mentioned before in previous meetings, these designs and plans were very thought out. With our engineers and our design teams, we didn't just choose to close these ramps because it was the easiest way for us to do this. We chose to close this ramp because it was a necessity for us to complete the work for the next phase of this project.
Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alex, for being here, and thank you
Thank
to the Caltrans staff. Over the last throughout the entire project, we've enjoyed a very good working relationship with Caltrans, and we appreciate your efforts in reaching out, not just to us, but to the community. Obviously, construction on Highway 99 has very large impacts to the city whenever it does happen. And so we've worked diligently to, our public information officer has worked diligently to inform the public as well as our department heads, whenever we're meeting with business, to give them a proper heads up about, the construction that's happening, what off ramps and on ramps are going to be closed. We certainly have communicated on various instances with regard to Mr. Nelson's request to rethink the closures and maybe see if there's a different way of doing that. Ultimately, it's out of the city's hands. And our deputy city manager has met with Mr. Nelson and discussed the project as well. And we've met with Caltrans and raised the concerns. And Caltrans, from our experience, has been very receptive to the feedback. And, outside of that, everything else is outside of our control because we can only do so much as far as the city goes in terms of dictating a project that's not our project. It's a state project. And so, but I would like to thank Caltrans for being receptive to the feedback. And I understand that outreach has been made to the businesses on the west side of the 99 and businesses that have been impacted. And I think there was a previous public affairs person that also worked diligently on notifying businesses. So, and that's not a process that occurs only with Caltrans projects. It occurred, with the Golden State Boulevard project in terms of notifying businesses and trying to mitigate the impact. So unfortunately, this is a kind of a once in a lifetime. I think it's been 60 years since that 70 years since that pavement was constructed. And so, this doesn't happen often, but when it does, unfortunately, there are impacts. But we understand the concerns from the business community. Mr. Nelson, thank you for being here and expressing your concerns. Absolutely something that we've communicated. And so we'll continue to do so for the benefit of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Nelson, you had the bite of the apple, so you can't speak again due to protocol. But I can say thank you for coming out. You are a business owner, multi-business owner, a major sales tax generator. We thank you. Mr. Israelian is our Selma. You've got, your predecessor right here. And I think all of us here feel for you and feel for all the businesses that are negatively impacted, including city staff. Just feel for you and want to make this better. Caltrans is not the enemy here. They've had their plans. They're moving forward. They're trying to expedite their repairs. I can tell you this. I was at the Council of Governments on Thursday night with the Deputy Director, Michael Navarro, and there has been a homeless encampment at the on-ramp, if you've noticed, to get on 99 at Floral. And I brought it up, and the next day, Caltrans had addressed it. and it's gone. So I think, I think we can, we all can reach out to Mr. Navarro again and just let him know the content of our discussion tonight, your frustration, the frustration that I'm sure many, many other business owners have, and the tangible negative effects that this closure will have on you. And hopefully there can be some sort of response and some sort of contact made. That's my commitment to you, Dwight, that I will go back to Mr. Navarro. You already talked, so thank you, but I will do that and we'll follow up. And hopefully you will get contact from Mr. Navarro, and hopefully Alex can let him know my call's coming tomorrow too, okay? Thank you. With that, we'll bring it back to council, or brought to the chamber. Somebody who hasn't spoken already, if you would like to make a public comment.
Jim Avenel, 1701 Dinuba. Dwight makes a good point. I think what he wanted, the information was to reach out to Caltrans, and I think he has an idea how to mitigate some of these issues. And because Dwight generates revenue for the city of Selma, he's one of the big business owners in our community that generates revenue for the city and keeps our city moving forward. And I think we should listen, and I want him to reach out to Mr. Navarro and maybe have a meeting with him, Scott, the mayor, since you belong to the city, county governments, see if you can facilitate some of those issues. Dwight, and not only Dwight, but other business owners in our community that are impacted by this, And I think it's a wise decision. I'm not going to throw any rocks at these gentlemen over here, because, I understand what they do. But I think sometimes people might have a good idea and you don't see it until you come to the table. And he might have a super good idea to fix this problem. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody on the phone, on Zoom would like to say anything? Okay, thank you, City Clerk. With that, we'll bring the matter back to City Council. If no one has anything else to say, we'll move on from our special presentation to the consent calendar. Okay, with that, we'll move on. Thank you for both special presentations tonight. Appreciate it. With that, we'll move on to our consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Does council have any items that they would like removed tonight from the consent calendar? I'd like to remove item F, the check register. Is there a motion to approve items A through E?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, so my question tonight, I'm just gonna read off page 132, just bear with me, check number 83583, animal shelter supplies reimbursement, page 133, item number 83624, pet health services, animal shelter microchips for 224544. The Cal card, page 134. The first five items, Sergeant Alvarez, the Home Depot Animal Shelter Supplies. The next page, Finance Department, Pet Watch, Animal Services, Pet Point Software. So I guess I'm not done, sorry. Page 138, we've got Police Department, number 1, Corinda beds, dog beds and desk for the animal shelter. And then finally, page 139, Chief Alcarez, PetSmart, Revival Animal Health Shelter Supplies. I'm not finding any fault with the expenses themselves. What I'm asking is why all the different categories and people buying shelter supplies, and with the related question of will all the animal shelter costs be able to be gathered in a centralized location so that the council and the public can review those?
Yes, Mayor, to your first question, we have a lot of different people, helping out at the shelter, especially when the transition occurred between Second Chance and the city. So, the chief was involved, Sergeant Alvarez was involved, the new staff at the shelter. And so everyone, Public Works had to purchase supplies. And so, it's more efficient for multiple people to be involved with purchases that occur, and that have to occur on the spot. With regard to your second question, as you recall from our mid-year budget revise, we established a new department in our city budget called Animal Services. And that's where the full budget of the Animal Services operation will be reflected, not just in the current fiscal year budget, but all budgets going forward. And so you'll see that also in the proposed draft that we present to the city council in May for fiscal year 24-25. And, as we're going through an open gov system, which means that the public will be able to more easily access costs and budgets of the city, including animal services, the transparency will be greatly increased. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, City Manager. Just a very brief related question. In terms of the pet health, I know those are microchips, and at one point they were like 15, 18 bucks a piece. And I know the city is giving out free microchips. My question for the city is, how can the city waive those fees when they are not providing the service or the product to a nonprofit? I thought that the waiver of the fees up to 25,000 under a recent ordinance change that the city council approved could only be waived for nonprofits. So what's the mechanism that allows the city to do a gift of public funds like that?
No, I think it's a good question. However, I think we're conflating two different things. So what you're referring to is waiver of special event fees. Microchips are not considered a special event fee. Ultimately, what it comes down to is better enforcement of the city's responsibilities to maintain the stray population down. And so this is it's not a waiver of fees. We're allowing the community to receive a benefit that is going to enhance public safety. So whenever you're, giving things away, there has to be a public benefit established, right? And so here, if we're giving away microchips, it means that when there's a stray found, we're going to be able to locate the owner of that stray a lot more quickly, which means less time for the animal in the shelter, which means lower chance of euthanization, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a great tactic by the animal shelter staff to be able to provide this resource to the community. It's not any different than, free vaccinations that we have normally done in the past under Second Chance Animal Shelter. It's the same concept. So at the end of the day, it's not a special event. It's free resources to the community, just like, we've done in the past for other things.
Got it. And I think with the vaccinations in the past were under a special grant provided by the city of up to 1,500. And I think it was for cats. So
Which,
there was
yeah,
right.
Which is also public funds. So it's the same process whereby it's, providing a benefit to the community, whether it's dogs, whether it's cats, it's a benefit to the community to vaccinate, to spay, neuter, to microchip, to all those things that are going to increase public safety.
Got it. Just to pull it full circle for me, and then I'm done. It just seems like the city is spending a lot of money on the animal shelter, and the free microchips, they have to come from somewhere. They're not free. They're costing the taxpayer money. I just wanted to point that out and make sure that the city, in providing these microchips and the spay and neuter, that they're cognizant of the cost factor to the shelter and make sure that those costs are recognized by the city and controlled, because they're definitely getting up there.
Sure. No, and I can tell you that the cost of the microchips are actually lower than what, the Second Chance was paying, because we're buying them in bulk. Additionally, when you look at the cost of providing free microchips, whether, compared to what it costs to care for an animal in the shelter, at least $100 a day in terms of food, in terms of care, in terms of veterinary expenses, sometimes if they're past their, the point where they can recover from whatever illness they have. There's euthanasia. I mean, if we can keep that dog out of the shelter for a minimal amount, the cost of a microchip, it's going to save us a ton of money down the line. So it's an investment up front, which is not a huge investment when you look at, $2,200 for, I don't know how many hundreds of microchips we were able to buy for that, but it's a pretty good return on our investment.
Thanks for your response. Okay, do we have any other questions on the check register tonight? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the check register. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Robertson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro?
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. On to regular business. The first item is consideration of a resolution approving and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm very pleased to present this item to the council tonight. It's, for a year or so now, the city staff have been looking at ways to, minimize our fleet management costs, not least of which is the acquisition of vehicles that need to be replaced on an annual basis. As is obvious, our public safety fleet is the largest in the city, especially our police department. And so it becomes a challenge when, for example, we have to replace, let's say, 5 vehicles a year. You're looking at $60,000 with upfitting costs. And so that's a $300,000 investment every year that we have to make. And so just to keep our fleet up to date and keep our public safety standards up. And so that becomes very difficult for us to have to find that money every year, which means that we end up keeping vehicles in the fleet for a long time, sometimes past their recommended useful life. And at the end of that useful life of those vehicles, if we try to resell them, we get virtually no money back. There's no resale value left in those vehicles. But in that time that we do have it, we're spending more on maintenance. We're spending more on fuel consumption. We're risking safety because some of them have outdated, brake systems or what have you, backup cameras, all those things. And so it becomes the return or the cost of keeping these aging vehicles in our fleet becomes more significant. And so we started working with Enterprise Fleet Management recently to explore what options they have for a municipal fleet to be able to not only acquire the needed vehicles on an annual basis, but also maintain the vehicles, which is a huge fleet cost for us every year. And we were able to work with the team at Enterprise, who's here today, and I'll give them an opportunity to make their presentation. I'm probably stealing your thunder, right, Gabe? But it's without giving too much more detail, this agreement and this structure in our fleet management system is going to save the city a lot of money. But most importantly, it's going to provide us a very reliable fleet in public safety and public works and administration vehicles and reduce the amount of time that our staff is spending on maintaining aged vehicles. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Enterprise. Drew and Gabe, if you want to come up, feel free. The Enterprise Fleet team, and I'll let them kick their presentation off. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gabe Perez. I am an account executive with Enterprise Fleet Management. Thank you, Fernando, for that introduction. I do want to thank the city and I do want to thank the council for allowing me to present to you today. I'm excited to go over this project that I have been working with Chief Fernando and Public Works Director Michael Hahn. So after a long months of working together, I think we were able to iron out all the details. And I think it's getting pulled up. We got to page 1. So really briefly, we did compose a synopsis for the council so we can go over kind of the high level and key points of the partnership. So currently right now, City of Selma, the current situation is that we have about 32% of the vehicles are over 10 years old. We have about 47 vehicles that are pre-standardization of some key safety features like backup cameras, electricity stability control, and anti-lock brake system. Currently, our goal right now is to reduce the average age of the fleet. So bring the average age of the fleet down so we can maximize the equity in the fleet, maximize the resale of the fleet. We also want to reduce the operating cost to run the fleet of vehicles. Newer vehicles tend to just require lower amount of maintenance because it just requires oil changes, tire rotations, things of that nature. We're not faced with more catastrophic failures that are more common in older vehicles. And third, we want to be able to have a budget for the fleet year after year that is predictable and can be determined the years before. I also do want to bring up that we are the Sourcewell contract holders, which is listed right there. The RFP number 0606118/EFM. So that is the contract that we were using for the city of Selma. And after being able to come up with a whole plan, we were able to save the city about, after 10 years, we're looking at a savings of 143,266. So currently right here, what is shown on the screen is just the current fleet in the visual manner. It shows the amount of vehicle manufacturers that we have, how many vehicles, the odometer of those vehicles, and what is currently holding with the vehicles. Right here, they are a lot of numbers. So just to break it up, this is what we would consider the game plan for the city of Selma. This is taking consideration maintenance costs, fuel costs, equity, and the lease payments on all the vehicles. And currently right there, that is within the starting fee of the program. After the 10 years, we're estimating a savings of 143,000 for the city of Selma. That doesn't consider any administration savings that we might see from, someone in the city having to resell the vehicles, acquire the vehicles. So there's savings on there that are not quantifiable. But with just the acquisition on the maintenance and the fuel and the payments on the lease vehicles, we're looking at a savings of 143,000. This right here is a testimonial that we were able to pull from one of our current partners, which is the San Marcos in California, past the LA area. They saw a decrease in fleet costs of 27%, and they were able to downsize their fleet by 10%. And those are the big key points of that testimonial. So currently right now, we want to increase the safety, and then the benefit of partnering with Enterprise Fleet Management is that the city of Selma would be awarded a dedicated account manager that would review the fleet year after year and be able to provide our expert recommendations on the fleet year after year. And then you also have access to all the technology that we offer, like our website portal, which is demonstrated right there, that's able to more easily be able to track maintenance costs, fuel costs, acquisition costs, and show what we have done year after year so that we can benchmark those costs. Currently right here at the end, I did provide some of our current partners. As you can see, we have City of San Marcos, City of Lemoore, which is a neighbor of yours, City of Arvin, Sonora, Yuba, and I did provide some references with the police chief of the City of Arvin, the city manager of the City of Lemoore, and we also work with the County of Fresno and Kern, which I also provided Leslie, who is a senior CAO officer with the county. And we're currently partners with both Tips Taps, Sourcewell, which we'll be using in E&I.
Gabe, thank you for that information. Can you sort of explain or describe to the council how the program works and what the steps would be in terms of acquiring vehicles and the reselling and all that good stuff?
Yeah, perfect. So with our program, we definitely decided to take the vehicles, what we like to call from cradle to grave. It's as simple as someone reaching out to our enterprise team, telling we have a need, we identify a need, we look for incentives on behalf of the city, we look at what's best would fit that use of the vehicle for the city, and we make a recommendation. We can order the vehicle, make sure that we are managing the vehicle from ordering the vehicle or from getting it from a dealer, all the way to the delivery of the city. And we also able to track from the life of the vehicle, which would include all the maintenance, the fuel, everything on that. And so that way we can give a recommendation year after year. When it is time that to dispose of the vehicle, we're able to pick up the vehicle, channel it through our channels. Enterprise sells millions of vehicles every year. We're pretty good at it. So we're able to we're able to see a return of over 10% on the black book value of the vehicles.
And so once, could you explain, once we do resell a vehicle, let's say after 5 years, what happens to those funds?
So those funds are actually all diverted to the city of Selma. So those Selma holds the equity of the vehicles and the proceeds of the vehicles. So that is returned to the city as a check or to be used as they like.
Council, have any comments or questions?
I do have a question. Couple things. One is, so the equity that's earned, then you can turn around and use that towards the leasing of the other vehicles?
Correct. So some of our clients have decided that they will want to use that equity and that return on that vehicle towards the next one to effectively lower the monthly cost of a new vehicle. I have experience where other clients or other cities have also decided to use that money for something else. So it is optional, but it can be used to lower future payments and everything.
And then the other question is, you work with Sourcewell. So Sourcewell is a state purchasing program, right? And so how is that, because I know, because I'm currently looking at Sourcewell right now, and it just required me to register and then just go in and purchase. So what's the benefit of going through Enterprise versus going through Sourcewell directly?
So Sourcewell is a cooperative purchasing. They go out and make sure that the cities can, so Sourcewell does the due diligence of a city on your behalf. So that way they go around, make sure that the value that it is being provided is awarded to the right business, the right vendor for Sourcewell so they can win a contract. So the benefit of that is that Sourcewell has already done the city's due diligence.
Yeah.
I have some questions. Okay, so you're saying that vehicles that are leased for 5 years, correct? And then they get turned back in or they have some kind of equity. What if they don't have equity?
Yeah, so the contracts are, they are flexible, so they could even be extended out if need be. So say if the city decided that they wanted to keep a certain vehicle longer, that's possible, or even if they wanted to shorten that amount, they could also do that. So the city is entitled to the money back on the vehicle, so all that is actually processed. So if the vehicle came back and everything, we project and we make recommendations based on the market to recommend when vehicles should be pulled because they have that residual value.
Okay.
So in other words, I'm sorry to interrupt,
That's okay.
we would be looking for each vehicle, what the optimal time to resell it is, to make sure that there is a resale value.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys will keep track of that.
Yeah, and Enterprise, obviously a huge company
Yeah.
that keeps track of those metrics, and so we rely on their data to be able to tell us exactly when that resale value is highest.
Okay. And then we're comparing, I just wanted to confirm, City Manager, you stated we're spending around 300,000 a year?
No, I mean, that was an example. Our optimally, we would be replacing vehicles every 5 years. Right now, what's our fleet size in PD, Chief?
Exact numbers, sir, I couldn't even tell you. We have some that are.
At least 50 vehicles, between the detective vehicles and patrol vehicles, right? So, let's say every year, those are on a 5-year cycle. Every year, that's 10 vehicles that we'd have to replace. You're looking at $60,000 each. That's over $500,000. So I was lowballing it, but the numbers could change depending on the point that I was making is that sometimes we're keeping vehicles longer than we should just because we don't have the money to replace them or we're not able to acquire them, through dealers. That was just the point that I was making.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so these are all city vehicles, correct? We're talking about public safety vehicles, we're talking about public works vehicles, well, staff, right? Staff and then staff for our city, okay.
And just to go into the details of the current agreement that we're proposing to enter into, we're actually looking at acquiring through lease with Enterprise 18 total vehicles. And so that would be a like-for-like replacement for, well, essentially a like-for-like replacement for all the vehicles we have now. I think there's one truck, 3/4 ton truck that we're reducing to a 1/2 ton truck. But everything else is basically this, we're replacing it like for like.
Okay. So we're looking at, for the first year, for 2024, we're looking to replace 18 vehicles, and then year 25, 11. So you've kind of already made a schedule as to how many vehicles would be replaced. Okay. And then just explain to me in regards, again, the maintenance, because I'm just used to, if I, leased a vehicle, I've done it once before. And I didn't have any maintenance the first few. I mean, they took care of it because it was in my lease, a oil change or checking the engine or whatever, those were things that were already included. And even if something went wrong, it'd be covered under the warranty. So is that going to be the same concept here? Like if, say, we get a bad apple, is the warranty going to replace that? Or is that gonna be the city's responsibility to get another vehicle? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Because if I take a lemon vehicle to a dealership, after so many times, they'll just say it's a lemon, you just get a new car, That's what I'm asking. Is that the same kind of concept here?
Correct. So it would be the same type of concept. We have our maintenance program that is built into the lease. So the benefit to that is that we're leveraging the partnerships that Enterprise has built with multiple vendors from just the amount of the size of our fleet. So we're able to leverage that. And then Enterprise does make sure that everything is covered. These vehicles would be younger. So a lot of the things with the vehicle would be covered under manufacturer warranty. Anything below 100,000 that is on the program, Enterprise will also has covered under warranty as well.
I have a couple of questions really quick. And, I just, coming from an industry of, back in the old days, I was a rep for a pharmaceutical distribution center. And we handled national, about 30 to 80, maybe 300 vehicles. And we had a place that would fleet. We had a requirement that we had to have the maintenance agreements, will you guys be doing that, or will the city have to be handling that part?
So Enterprise handles all that part.
Exactly, okay, so that's good. So, and the requirements in regards to the maintenance agreements, so when those maintenance agreements, do you guys already send out to the city, to each department, okay, vehicle 1 through 32, these are the dates they have to go get checked and to go by the mileage, and, will the fuel cards be also through you guys also?
We have not discussed that. It is an
And the
option.
And the reason why I ask you is because it's a fascinating, when you look at renting and leasing vehicles for a fleet of a magnitude, it could become a cost savings or it could be a cost factor, right? So, and I was happy to run California, Hawaii, and Vegas for 10 years. So I ran all the fleet. So in looking at that, one of the biggest factors for me was to make what's the cost versus what's the savings, right? And every year my upper management would ask me what's the cost versus the savings. And I felt that between our employees versus what we would educate our employees, that's what the outcome would be for our business, right? Another one was the factor that we had to go through, back in the old days, we call it the Charlie Lau, where every driver had to go through a driving class. Is that going to be asked also?
It would not be.
Are you gonna require every person to go through a safety class for every driver that drives one of the vehicles?
Enterprise does not require a driver to go through safety class. That would be up to the city if that's what they
Yeah,
want.
and that would follow our normal risk management protocol and training as well. But just where we acquire the vehicles from, for us, whether we acquire them directly from Farney or from Enterprise, we still have to make sure that our drivers are being safe on the road, right? So no, that's a good point. One of the things, Councilmember Garrett, to your point, we're looking at we're proposing to spend about $200,000 on this lease agreement for the first year. That is about 3 vehicles total for just patrol for PD, and we're getting 18 vehicles, new vehicles. And so from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. As Mr. Perez mentioned, we don't have to do oil changes, tire rotations. If there's issues with the vehicles, we take them, to one of their mechanics here in Selma or elsewhere, and they take care of it, which frees up our fleet staff to focus on fire engines, to focus on public works, equipment, et cetera.
Okay, so, yeah, looking at this, I would just ask the city, has the city, engaged in a competitive bid with any other, vehicle lessors to give us a comparison of costs?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's the purpose of going with Sourcewell. We're able to piggyback off of an already competitive purchasing process. I mean, that's already been conducted, yeah.
Do they have any other competitive bids we could see that they did? That they
Yeah, they
engaged in?
post their process, they post their process online. And so we verify that, make sure, that we did in fact get the best, or they procured the best contract.
Just off the top of your head, do you know the other companies that would be vehicle lessors that would engage in this?
Gabe, are you familiar with the other competitors that Sourcewell went out for?
So the request for proposal was open to multiple fleet management companies. So we have people like Poland, Donlin, that we competed against. So these are national companies that work at a national level. However, Enterprise was able to come out as the most value against those contracts.
Got it. Did they quote Selma or did they just quote Sourcewell in general? Sourcewell went out. How did they do the bid? Sourcewell is not a city. Sourcewell is a buying service. So did they use
I
like
can
an
answer
example
that, Gabe.
city?
So just to kind of explain the process, what Sourcewell is. So what Sourcewell is similar to like the General Services Administration, right, for the state or for the federal government. They do the procurement, which means that any city agency, I mean, Sourcewell doesn't control who piggybacks off of their contract. They just give access to everyone who's a public agency to piggyback off of the best contract that they were able to negotiate. So the quote wouldn't be for the city of Selma or for the city of Clovis or, because they don't know who's going to piggyback off of it. So what we know is that we would probably not have gotten a better price going out on our own for procurement because Sourcewell, they're going to be able to leverage the buying power of all the public agencies who could potentially use them.
Got it. So we're relying on Sourcewell to go get the competitive bids.
Yes, as do
you
many other agencies.
recommend that.
Mhm.
Next question. Would the city be required to have full coverage? So I'm an insurance agent in my day job. And lease companies always require their leased vehicles to be fully covered. Does that mean that there would have to be full coverage on every single vehicle that's leased through Enterprise, including physical damage, comp and collision?
Correct. So just currently what the city is doing is usually suffice to meet all our standards.
Would it increase the insurance costs on the auto insurance to have to insure the comp and collision? Because I think there are a lot of older vehicles the city probably doesn't have FizDam on anymore.
With the risk management, we just have to tell what the price of the vehicle is and they insure it how it's required. So there's not going to be any additional because from what I understand, we're replacing almost like for like. So there's not going to be any additional.
Got it. And so I saw the list of references there. They're really good. The only thing is we've never done this before and we're putting city vehicles, PD vehicles, and public works vehicles all at once with Enterprise. Why wouldn't we just start with one department and see how they do? This is a major change. What if I don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. It looks like it'd be really good. But what if it doesn't work out? Why wouldn't we want to have just one department to try them out for a few years?
Well, we're not looking at it from from a per department basis. We're looking at it from a overall fleet perspective. What vehicles need to be replaced right now, right? So what vehicles are unsafe to drive, what vehicles are just past their useful life and are costing us. I mean, when you really look at it, even if it doesn't work out with Enterprise, we can cancel the contract after the first year. We're not locked into any specific length of time, so it's virtually risk-free, right? We're gonna, if we cancel the contract, give back the leased vehicles, then we'll have to go out and purchase them, right? So if it makes sense at that point, then it makes sense, but it doesn't mean that we're really out any money. And so it's not really a risk, is actually, it mitigates our risk, because now we don't have to go out and purchase 18 vehicles and be stuck with them, because that's what would happen. If we purchased 18 vehicles and some of them turn out to be lemons, you know, then we have that whole headache without being able to give them back necessarily. So from that perspective, Mayor, I think we're actually mitigating our risk.
Got it. And then there are a bunch of fees on the rate quotes. You got an administration fee, a pricing plan delivery charge, a courtesy delivery fee, a termination fee. It just, there are a lot of fees. Were they included in the overall lease costs, or does the city have to incur those at the time that the agreement is executed? And is there an early termination fee in case the city says, this is just not for us, we want to get out of this, we want to cancel the contract, and we'll return all 18 lease vehicles? Is there an early termination fee on that?
There is no early termination fee. As I had alluded to a little bit earlier, was that the leases are flexible, so we're able to get out of them early in case a situation like that were to come out, or I guess, or the latter, or the opposite, where if we want to extend the lease a little bit longer.
The city could buy those 18 vehicles then if they wanted to get out of that deal.
Correct. If the city chose that they wanted to acquire the vehicles, that is an option that we can discuss.
Got it. Thank you. So that's an option to discuss, the
Correct.
termination conditions. Okay. And then the maintenance costs. So yeah, to reflect Councilmember Guerra's concern on the maintenance, like first 3 years, you got nothing, you know, you get an oil change or something, if, you know, 10,000 miles. So there isn't a whole lot. And yet the city is having to pay an extra increment of $66.45 per vehicle per month for the maintenance agreement. So that adds up over time. The related question I have on that is, what happens when the whole fleet is replaced and there's no more maintenance? Because from my understanding, Enterprise performs the maintenance, not the city, correct? All the maintenance. So what happens to the folks who do the maintenance work? Do they get reassigned to another department, or what happens to the fleet maintenance folks when there's no vehicles to maintain?
That's a great question, Mayor. I can tell you that our fleet department is under-resourced at the moment. You know, we don't have enough people to work on our fire engines, to work on our public works equipment, and to work on basically everything else that we don't acquire from Enterprise, because we're not, I mean, every vehicle that the city uses is not acquired through, it won't be acquired through Enterprise. What it's going to do, it's going to free them up to actually focus more of their attention on the higher ticket items like the ladder trucks and et cetera. So no, I think, you know, there's plenty of work for them.
Got it. Thank you. And then finally, I did a little math yesterday, and I came up with 206,200 for the first year. It continues on. That 206 continues for and then you have the 11, 10, 7, and 5 vehicles, and it's cumulative. So then you go to 332,000 in year 2, 446,000 in year 3, 526,000 in year 4, 584,000 in year 5. If you add all those up, you're looking at almost 1.8 million in total payments over 5 years. Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to mention that because over time, it's a pretty significant cash outlay. That gets, there's a long tail, there's a 5-year tail there. So we just have to be cognizant of that. Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the public tonight?
I have a real quick question on to follow up on Mayor's question about the 1 point something million. How many vehicles is that? Right, that's probably, I don't know, is it the whole 52 vehicles or?
That's 53 vehicles.
53 vehicles. So 53 divided by that million is probably a lot less. I'm not a mathematician, so, I'm just thinking it's significantly less. Yeah, savings. Thank you.
And the city owns those vehicles at the end of 5 years. They own every single one of those 53 vehicles, right? There's no balloon payment, there's no nothing.
No, and the titles are actually, will say City of Selma, so.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Did the public have any comments at this time? They'd like to stand up and ask a question?
1057 Mill Street, Rose Robertson. What other neighboring cities do this as well? We have any neighboring Kingsburg, Fowler, Parlier, Reedley? Who else is
Lemoore.
doing this as well?
Lemoore.
I saw their list of references: Lemoore, Arvin, Fresno County, Kern County, Mosquito Abatement District, County of Visalia, City of Visalia.
I'm sure there will be more as time goes on.
I didn't speak earlier, but we partner with just under 100 different government agencies across the state of California. So what the whole premises of this is, we want to start building equity in the fleet. So Mayor, to your point, the lease payments continue to build up. But then once we start cycling vehicles at the most opportune time, there's a wave of equity that comes back in, which doesn't happen today because the city's on a buy and hold strategy. So you go out and you buy a vehicle, you run it until the wheels fall off. With cycling vehicles out now every 5 years, you'll see a significant reduction in maintenance and fuel. And then now there's that equity that's going to be rolling back in to offset future lease payments. So.
Will you be investing in electric vehicles in the future, given the coming deadline?
Correct, yeah.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
I have another question. You mentioned Farnley. So will we be purchasing from local businesses here in Selma?
We would be placing the orders directly through the manufacturer, and then the vehicles would be drop shipped to your local dealers. So they would get the courtesy delivery from the city to get paid to get those vehicles ready for delivery.
Okay.
And then maintenance, under our maintenance program, would go to your local tax base.
Have you ever purchased directly from the dealership, like say, Dwight Nelson's dealership or Farney's dealership?
Yeah, it's more costly though than going directly through the manufacturer.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
that's typically, we would do that in an instance where a vehicle got totaled and
Mhm.
you needed a replacement immediately. But if we could
Okay.
proactively plan and go directly to the manufacturer, we can place these orders, or we can order these vehicles to spec, which then saves the city more money.
Okay. Just because, we'd like to partner with our businesses here locally. I mean, they do bring revenue to our city and we'd like to, stay really in good with them because it's the right thing to do. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and we did ask that question throughout the process to make sure that we were leveraging our local dealers. So the point is, we would still be, the city would still be receiving the sales tax revenue from that. And depending on the relationships the manufacturer has with the local dealers, that would still be a possibility.
Any other comments? Anybody on the phone or online? That will bring the matter back to council. If there's no more discussion, is there a motion on this item?
Make a motion to approve?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra.
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
No. Okay, next item is consideration of a resolution approving a capital improvement program.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We had a study session this afternoon to discuss the capital improvement program that the city is proposing. And City Clerk, if you don't mind just pulling that up one more time so that those who weren't part of the study session would be able to take a look at it. But essentially what it entails, as you know, is we have planned out our capital projects and equipment purchases over the next 10 years, which entails an expenditure of about $150 million. The sources for all of those projects will vary depending on the type of project. And so we are currently looking for funding sources for the most immediate projects. And then we're also going to establish an online dashboard that the public will be able to see the projects as they are in progress. City Clerk, if you could go to the last page and click on the link. There we go. And so that's going to be available for the public to be able to track the status of the capital improvement projects, the cost, the funding source, the council district, the location, and how it's being paid for. Oh, sorry, that you have to sign in. Apologies. No, it's okay. It's okay. So council, unless there are any proposed changes to the program as we discussed earlier today in the study session, staff is recommending the approval, the adoption of the resolution that approves the capital improvement program.
Thank you, City Manager. Does council have any more comments before we open it up to the public for their input at this time? Okay, with that, we'll open it up to the public. Would anyone like to say anything about the proposed capital improvement program? Do we have anybody on the phone or online who would like to weigh in on this very important topic? Thank you, City Clerk. With that, we will bring the matter back to council for comments, and then we'll call for a motion. I would just like to say, before we go to a vote, I'd like to thank staff for all their work, City Manager, Deputy City Manager, Public Works, Fire Chief, Police Chief, HR. You've done a great job on this capital improvement plan. This truly is the future of our city. I very much appreciate it. I don't want you to take my vote tonight the wrong way, but I don't like seeing an $18 million city hall without a regional park of 40 acres. And I don't like seeing buildings without solar. I think we've got to keep moving forward. I agree with almost everything on here, but I think it's incomplete. And so I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I value your work and I value what you're doing. But I think there's much improvement to be made on this and much development, which I know we'll be talking about in the future.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. To your point, are you proposing that we add maybe a solar project to the CIP? I mean, that's something that we can do and develop and provide cost for.
Oh, yeah, I would love to see a solar project
Okay.
in the future.
So
The bill, and let me clarify,
Sure.
I'd like to see solar. The city a few years ago looked at solar and the city received a bid on everything but the police station, which uses the most energy. So didn't make a lot of dollars and cents. So I would love to see solar, especially given what PG&E is doing. I think it just makes sense. And to retool our buildings and make them smart, you know? I know it's gonna cost some more, but gosh, look at New York. They're going electric, no more gas. They're pulling their hair out in their skyscrapers right now because they got to make these changes. I think we're not New York City, but we can be forward-looking like them. And I know we are. We're doing some really great things in the city, and I think we can incorporate that. And I think we could be even more smart and efficient with our future. So yes, I would like to see that. And I'd like to see a regional park too. I talked to so many people who just don't have the space. I appreciate the 10-acre park that the city has the land donated for, and I appreciate that, but I don't think it's enough. I think we need to keep striving, and I think we need to keep moving forward and doing more in that regard as well.
So
revise
regardless,
it.
oh, go ahead.
No,
Councilmember.
I'm just saying, like you mentioned earlier, maybe we could revise the wording, approve it with the revision of, like, say, a project that comes in that needs immediate attention.
Right.
Or something like that. Can we put that wording in there and move forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the capital improvement program is a living document. It never stops evolving based on the city's urgent priorities. So although that goes without saying, we can absolutely add that language in there. And then if you'd like, you know, I think the Rockwell Park project is, or excuse me, the regional park, Mayor, I think that was still, you know, that was planned a long time ago. And if the city council wants to keep it in there, we can keep it in there. And we can bring back both a solar project that would power all the city or as many of the city facilities as possible. We can bring that back when we bring the CIP with the budget, the 24-25 budget proposal in around May. And then if the council's direction is to also keep the regional park project, that's something that we can throw in there as well. Yeah, I mean, this is a living document and it's subject to change.
I think that when we talk about a CIP, we actually talk about what the future growth of our community is. And I think that I commend our staff for the hustle in regards to, getting a plan like this because, just, it's really funny. We sit back and we ask ourselves, what's our future look like, And what you've done is you've actually given a partial plan of what we want to do for the investment of our community. Along with that, we have our leaders, our elected leaders in the state of California, multiple times sending emails saying, hey, you guys have a stead-ready project to go. And 9 times out of 10, we're saying to ourselves, man, we missed it because we didn't have a project ready to go. If you look at this plan here, we can also actually start visualizing and saying to ourselves and having our staff say, hey, these are the plans that we want to dictate. These are the ones we're going to start putting our foot in the door, start working on. So when our elected leaders from the state of California say to us, hey, do you have a project ready? Yeah, we do. We set up our plan. We have a master plan. We have it here. Here it is. It's there. This is what our long-term goal is. This is our 10-year plan. So, I mean, when you start looking at a plan, and like we said it before, we've been saying, hey, this is a revolving door, right? This is going to keep on opening. It's going to add. There's a lot of things that we're investing where the future's bright. And, but at the same time, we have to have a vision. And the vision is, what the plan looks like. Hey, city does need a new city hall. The city does need a community center. The city does need a new senior center. The city does need to update it's our Pioneer Village. But without actually participating and having a project, an actual 10-year plan, and we just talk about it, we're not going to be able to get the funds and chase the funds for the upper elected officials because we don't have it on our plan. So, I mean, there's a lot of multiple things in regards to just bringing this up and actually saying to ourselves that we're actually going to put it on our budget. We're going to have a project. We're going to install it. We're going to approve it because then we start putting some teeth in and start saying, hey, this is our goal. And we're not saying it's stuck on, this is it. We're saying, hey, there's going to be allowable movements, right? And we're also going to have to dictate as to what's more important. What's our priority listing, right? One of the major ones are homeless, right? We have homeless issues. So, but these are plans that are going to be able to dictate to us where we're going to move and navigate. I'm just really happy that when we had this meeting, we were all in regards to what this is a nice plan. I don't see a big objective. I actually see the mayor saying, hey, if you add these, we're going to do it, right? Well, that's what politics is. It's the art of persuasion. Hey, you know what? He's got an idea. Throw it in there. Maybe we back out some other ones we had that we intended to have priority. Maybe we back those out. We bring, what I don't want to do is invest $25,000 on energy and then we just give that person a check because that's what we did about 3 years ago. We committed to do an energy project, but it wasn't well, so we just gave that money away.
No.
But there is a need for energy. There is a need for growth. There is a need for a master plan sewer, master plan streets, master plan infrastructure. And this 10-year plan puts it. It gives it to us. It gives us a master plan of all areas in the municipal government, and it puts a number. Even if it's a rough number, it puts a number. And if it puts a number, then we tell our residents, if you want this, join our forces and we're going to do it. So I applaud you. I applaud the staff for bringing this up. I think this is a really good plan. I'm not here to attack anybody in general. I'm just saying, I'm just happy that this plan is good because I've been asking for a 10, 20-year plan because that's what we need. We need to have a visual street. We need to have a vision. And this actually starts it off. This is a good starting point. So for that, I commend you guys for bringing this to us, presenting it to us, and I fully support it. And I fully support adding things to it. I fully support discussing it. I fully support going back and forth and dialogue in regards to what's going to better our community. Because at the end of the day, it's for our community. And it's our community investors. They're the ones that invest in this. So, but again, thank you. And I fully am supportive of this. Thank you.
Okay, I would just like to say thank you to the staff as well. And you guys did a phenomenal job. Really, I know it took a long time and, this is something great. We love to see this stuff and I know, we've been waiting and there's some challenges, of course, because I've been on here 5 years, and I scream and call all the time for things that I want done, but I know it takes time. So I think, this is a great plan. And I would say, city manager, I would like to make a motion to move forward with the revisions, including,
I wanted to say something too, before you make a motion.
okay.
Were you done?
Well, I just would like the revisions that we stated to be included. And then I'll make the motion.
I
Want to
didn't,
make your comment?
yes. I just wanted to say thank you to staff about for thinking about the future. I think that, I sit back and I look at the city and, there's a lot of negative talk out there, and I really admire that you guys are still pushing forward through this. And, because at the end of the day, we know what we're doing up here. I know when I came on board, I wanted to see the city moving. I was tired of seeing my city stagnant. Everyone around me was growing. I worked for the Housing Authority for over 20 years. And so it was a relief to say, to see we have stuff happening here, right? One of the other things that I do want to, add is I do want to do not just a regional park, but maybe a sports center, a sports complex, more of a sports complex, because we do have soccer's very big, football's very big, wrestling's very big, doing those partnerships. So I'd like to think bigger than just a regional complex. I'd like to think more of a sports complex where maybe we can attract, more things to come. Maybe even like concerts and like something bigger. But I just really want to thank staff, and I love the transparency that we're gonna have this, or the city will be able, the citizens will be able to see online, live data and not have to rely on social media where there's not a lot of facts there. There's a lot of lies that go on there, but that they'll actually be, facts. So thank you so much for that. And with that, I second her motion.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Sorry,
Oh.
does the motion include like the sports complex? Is that the same project, regional park
Regional park
and the
slash
sports complex and
Sure.
solar?
Solar.
Oh,
sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho.
Yeah, we have a second. You go ahead.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah, we have first and second. The floor's open.
So I'm you talk now?
Yeah, go for it. Not used
Okay,
to this.
thank you, the staff, for working so hard on this. I really think it's a good thing. First time, in a long time ever, I don't think, that the city actually have a direction. And like I said, it's not ironclad, can be changes and bring in changes versus, maybe some of the things not working. We'll find that out as we go. So I think for the future, we can see some hope, and that's very important. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. It would incorporate all the changes that you heard tonight, city manager.
Would that require a modification of the motion to include sports complex?
Yeah, just because Councilwoman Guerra's original motion didn't include the sports complex, so I think that should be clear for the.
Restate your
record.
motion.
Yeah, just restate it. You can put regional park slash sports complex.
Okay.
Definitely.
How about solar, remember?
No, in the solar,
And
solar and,
And, wait a minute.
Trees downtown.
oh, well,
Oh, I have one more, sorry.
No, I mean, this is the time to discuss it, right?
How about an animal shelter,
Okay.
Well,
a
that's-
bigger
that's-
animal shelter?
Yep, yep.
Lighting. Part of downtown.
probably.
Yeah,
I think
that was
I think
included in
that's
the
included.
Included in
downtown
the-
revitalization.
yeah.
Yeah.
How about adding, to our, we have our downtown bid? No. We have a downtown
strategic?
strategic.
Plan.
How
Oh,
about adding
okay.
funds to the strategic?
So as part of that plan, we'll identify projects, and at that time, we can put those projects into the CIP once we've developed them. Yeah,
Mhm. Okay, I think that's it.
okay.
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 Want to call the roll, please?
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. That will move on to item number 3, which is a proposed schedule for city council special workshop, which I believe is plural.
Yes, thank you. That is plural. So as mayor and members of the council, as you know, city staff has been engaging on scheduling a total of 4 workshops. The first of which is a joint workshop with the Selma Kingsburg Fowler County Sanitation District. The second is, and I'm going in probably order in when we're planning them. Second of which is going to be the Selma zoning ordinance workshop.
Selma what?
The zoning ordinance workshop. And the third is the budget workshop, and the fourth is the Chamber of Commerce. So I have had the pleasure of communicating extensively with council in various methods, emails, phone calls, when I see you face to face, engaging with you on many different levels and dates. Unfortunately, staff has encountered significant challenges in securing suitable dates. So in order to plan for the 4 workshops, staff is seeking council's availability for the entire month of March and April in order to schedule suitable dates and times for all 4 workshops. I have secured a quorum with the SKF board. I have a couple of options, but being that we're trying to secure a total of 4 workshops, just like to get council's availability for that and for all 4.
What date do you have for the SKF?
So great question, Councilmember Trujillo. I have a couple of dates and I can go down the line with those dates. Have March 11th at 1 p.m. And just to go back, I have secured with Supervisor Mendez, Supervisor Magsig, Board Member Palomar. So those are the 3 that I have secured. Unfortunately, it looks like one of the board members will be out of the area or is having won't be available. And so an alternate from the city of Fowler will be attending the SKF board meetings. So I have reached out a couple times and have not secured that availability. So just to clarify, the dates that I have so far are March 11th at 1 p.m. I'm looking for a consensus from council to say, yes, that works.
I'm
and
good.
from staff.
I'm good. Monday's good for me. March 11th at 1 p.m. I'm good. March 11th.
So the board member approached me at COG and said he's going to be out all of March.
Yes, and so he has his alternate that is going to be attending.
Okay, so Mayor Para will be attending as his alternate.
Correct, and I have not secured his availability, but I have secured, as mentioned, Supervisor Mendez, Magzig, and board member from Kingsburg.
So it still needs to go to SKF board for approval, which will be Thursday, because there's a joint meeting with the Policy Advisory Committee at 3, and then 4 o'clock, the regular board meeting for the sewer rates.
Is that the 14th?
Yeah, that's this week. No, it's the, let's see, 4th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th. It's the Thursday, right?
So it's basically up to them to see if we can.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could propose a date, but they have to run it through the board. Okay, so the SKF's gonna be the following week on the 14th.
So I also have that date. So all 3 of them did state that March 14th at 6 p.m. they are going to be meeting. It'll be a long day, but they will have everyone there. And that came from all 3.
I mean, we could do it all in one, we could just do this.
So that's another option. if
Thursday, March 14th.
At 6 p.m.
Could we, maybe 5? Because we meet the PAs, the PAC meets with the SKF at 3, right? And then 4 to 5, 4, I think it's a pretty light agenda on the meeting. So it'll be over by 5, so maybe we could do it 3 to 6. In other words, 5 to 6 for our city council and SKF.
Would they need to travel here?
I think they were gonna have it at the SKF.
The joint meeting would be at SKF?
Yes,
With city council.
that's right. The PAC meeting would be at 3, the regular board meeting would be at 4, and then the joint meeting could be at 5 if council agrees.
That Thursday?
That's a week from Thursday,
14th
14th,
of March.
March
It's a
14th.
Thursday, yeah.
just because the PAC's already meeting. that
They're already
day.
meeting there,
Yeah.
yeah. Staff will
Okay.
be there.
I'll
Mhm.
put that down.
One thing I would have to check is a quorum might have to meet within the city's jurisdiction. Where is SKF not in Selma?
Not in the city limits.
They're in Kings.
I would have to check on that. Let me see. I know when you're teleconferencing, that affects it, but, I think that a quorum has to be within the city limits. A quorum of the council.
I don't know if they're, I think the original conception was to meet there, SKF. I mean, you would just have to put it in front of SKF to say we meet here. Or,
So if we have to meet in Selma, then maybe a 6 PM or 5:30 would work.
for travel.
Yeah.
4 to 5, 30 minutes per the road.
We still on March 14th?
Yeah.
So March 14, 5:30 then?
I'd like to clarify from have a clarification from the attorney, though, that
Yeah.
a quorum would have to be within city limits. And is that an action item? Is there an action, do we have to have a quorum to have a meeting?
You won't need a quorum necessarily to vote, but you can't hear an item and conduct a meeting without a quorum. And I believe it has to be a quorum within within city limits.
So I don't know what the agenda is for the joint meeting.
But it doesn't matter. It's a noticed meeting. And so if you guys are gonna hold a noticed meeting, you have to comply with Brown Act. And I believe the Brown Act requires that a quorum have to be within the city's jurisdiction.
But when we meet here without a quorum, it's okay because we're in the city's
We're in the
jurisdiction,
city's-
is that correct?
City limits.
When we
You
meet
guys
here
don't
without a
ever meet
quorum.
without a quorum. If you guys come to the meeting without a quorum, then the meeting is canceled.
Okay. So we can have 5 people down there, but it's not a quorum because it's not within the city limits.
Correct. You have to have a quorum within the city limits. So if 2 of you were over there teleconferencing from SKF and 3 were here, that would be fine because a quorum would be within the city. But
Okay,
if that makes sense.
that's an option.
I also have March 15th at 8:30 as an option, which would be Friday morning.
So I'd have a joint meeting with SKF. Okay, I just have to bring that up at the meeting. Well, I think the city clerk communicates. You communicate with SKF, right? City clerk in terms of the meeting arrangements?
Yes.
15th?
And they've told you that meeting, Alicia's told you that 8:30 is a good time for March 15th, available time?
That date and time does not work for city staff.
Okay.
Won't work for me.
I also have March 25th and March 26th, anytime until 4 PM on both days.
Next. 25th and 26th, Monday and Tuesday.
Twenty-fifth is good for me too.
Available the 26th.
Yeah,
Six-
26 works for
26
me
is
too.
okay.
26, Tuesday?
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. 26.
11, what time?
I was given anytime, all day until 4 PM on both dates.
I'm good in the morning.
9 AM?
Nine AM.
They're just gonna have to agree to come here to Selma.
And I could reach out to the SKF
Sounds good.
staff members.
Okay.
So, and SKF we are in their jurisdiction, so they won't be, that won't be a Brown Act issue.
Well, yeah, their city, only 2 city reps will be here from there.
Mayor Parra is also coming.
That's right. We got Mayor Parra, but 2 from the other city, not including me. Yeah, so we don't have to worry about their Brown Act issues.
So we are part of the area which they oversee. So the issue that city attorney had mentioned won't be an issue.
If we meet here
Yes.
for quorum issues.
But it will be an issue if we meet over there?
Correct.
Yes.
Because they're outside our city limits. So it looks like we have the consensus for March 26th at 9 a.m. for the SKF board, joint board meeting. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Can we also look at some other dates and times to discuss the Selma zoning ordinance? As council knows, in order to adopt a comprehensive update to the Selma zoning ordinance, staff is requesting to present a detailed overview of the proposed amendments at a special workshop sometime in mid-March if available. So city staff is looking to get that on the books. I know council has been talking about updating the zoning code for such a long time. And I know Deputy City Manager Keen is excited about moving forward, ecstatic, excuse me. He has presented the information to the Planning Commission. So we're looking at dates in
How about
March.
do it in the next council meeting?
I'm sorry, you're losing me.
I know, we're sorry.
Multiple meetings. Okay, so what workshop are we talking about now?
So now we're talking about the Selma zoning ordinance.
Okay. And the proposed date is when now?
Whenever you guys are free. I mean, what I was trying to communicate was in the event SKF maybe isn't available, we use the date that everybody's already agreed to for another workshop.
Or
So
just,
if SKF's not available on March 26th at 9 a.m., then we take the next meeting, like zoning ordinance or something else, and use that date.
can we just do the same day right after?
Want to, I mean.
So we were told that budget 2 hours for the joint meeting with SKF. Is that still on or is it an hour? Remember originally was 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was expressed to me.
I'm good.
I don't know what the agenda is. Yeah, I don't know what's on the agenda. Okay, so 9 to 11, and then 11 to 12 for the zoning. Make it a 3 hour.
I can't remember, we did the zoning ordinance workshop with the planning commission in about an hour because we provided a staff report that provided a summary of the proposed changes and how the ordinance was being streamlined and more user-friendly. So we got it done in an hour. You know, it's really a matter of if council has significant comments or questions, we'll try and get it out early so you guys have time to review it. It's a large document. It's all title, Title 11 of the municipal code is being revised in some way. So it could take an hour, but it's dependent on the type of questions we get. But we would want to give you guys the zoning ordinance ahead of time so you guys can prepare for that workshop.
Not good?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
11 to 12.
11 to
Okay.
12.
Which day is that?
26.
26, same day as the joint SKF.
Seven to 12 or 12:30, okay.
We'll bring donuts, bagels, lunch.
Okay.
So we're looking at, for the next workshop, we're looking at the Chamber of Commerce workshop. I did reach out to Chamber of Commerce staff, and I received information, and they are available on Monday, April 8th.
April 8th?
Correct. That's the second Monday of the month. It's not the first. So it won't conflict with the city council meeting.
I'm in Washington, DC that week. I'm leaving the 6th and I won't be back till the 11th.
We can't do it on the first, like right before council? Do it just.
That's
that-
definitely an option, and I could reach out to the chamber.
That would make sense, actually, Councilmember Guerra, especially if council's considering a new agreement. I'm not saying we'll definitely have something to approve,
Yeah.
but it might make sense. Mhm.
Or April 1st, yeah. Because that's council meeting.
Hey,
Perfect. Lastly, we've all talked about the budget workshops that we annually, city staff annually presents to council, where city staff goes over the information with council. So we're looking at either end of March or first part of April for council's availability. Come on, we're on a roll. We
What
could
is
do
this one for?
This is the budget workshop
Oh,
that we
budget
hold
workshop, okay.
annually,
In April?
either end of April or first part of March. Or I'm sorry,
May.
end of March or first part of April. Forgive me.
Oh, and
That could potentially also be combined with the chamber workshop. I mean, if council is open to starting early afternoon with the budget workshop.
Early.
I don't anticipate the budget workshop will take more than 2 hours. And I think the chamber discussion maybe an hour, hour and a half. So you'd be looking at starting pretty close to 1 o'clock.
That's tough.
Okay.
Beginning of the month's tough for me. I got renewals. That's a tough time. That's a stretch.
what about, okay, our next council meeting is April 15th. I mean, after the first, April 15th. Oh, that's right, yeah. I'm under the gun this month too, okay? I mean, what?
Chamber was what? Chamber was what, city clerk? April
April
what?
1st,
What time?
4 PM.
How about Friday, April 5th? In the morning? It's the budget workshop? Mhm. Oh, Friday, April 5th. Ten to 12, maybe?
10 to 12?
5th.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. April 5th
One,
from 10 to 12, 10 a.m. to
10 to 12, yeah.
So that will be the first one. The next one will be, we'll combine it with a council meeting because we'll have a more refined budget at that point. No, not that soon. I think we'll probably have it sometime in May. Follow-up meeting.
So just to recap what we just discussed, we will have the SKF board meeting, a joint board meeting on March 26th at 9 AM. The zoning workshop from 11 to 12. The chamber workshop on April 1st at 4 PM. And the budget workshop on April 5th from 10 to noon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raina.
That will move on to the next item, consideration of resolution approving user fees relating to ambulance services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. That's going to be a tough act to follow, I think, but I'll do my best. So this evening before you is the consideration of a resolution approving a user fee update relating specifically to ambulance services. Since the reestablishment of the EMS division within the Selma Fire Department, an in-depth analysis of the user fees associated with ambulance services has not been completed. City of Selma engaged Wildan Financial Services to perform a focused ambulance fee study to determine the full costs incurred by the fire department to support the EMS service activities for which the city charges user fees. The results from the study show that current fees need to be amended to allow for adequate cost recovery. The City of Selma provides ambulance services through the fire department's EMS division. As part of a general cost recovery strategy, the City of Selma must adopt user fees to fund private benefit programs and services that provide limited or no general benefit to the community as a whole. These fees are necessary to recover the costs associated with providing ambulance services. Results of the study show that the currently adopted fees only cover 50% of the costs associated with operating the EMS division. Without an amendment to the fees schedule, operations within both the EMS division and fire division will not be sustainable in the long term. Wildan Financial Services performed the Focus Ambulance Fee Study shown in your packet as attachment A to determine the full costs incurred in the fire department to support the emergency medical services activities for which the city charges the user fees shown in the table below in your staff report. In the table, it shows the current fees that are charged, or I'm sorry, that are approved, and I'm going to run through that table quickly for you. Item number 1 in the table, ALS base rate and emergency base, currently fees charged are $1,200. The full cost to provide that service is $2,394.67 with a suggested update to the fee of $2,394, which is an increase to that rate of $1,194. Item number 2, ALS 2, and just for definition's sake for you, that is a higher level of ALS care that has a definition in the CMS guidelines, but basically it's an increase of medication types and treatments to patients. The current rate for that is $1,400. The full cost to provide that service is $2,793.79, and the suggested fee is $2,793, which is an increase to that fee of $1,393. Item number 3, the BLS base and emergency base rate is currently $1,000. The full cost to provide that is $1,995.56. The suggested fee is $1,995, which is an increase to that fee of $995. Item 4, which is mileage, the current fee is $31 per mile. The full cost is $61.86, and the suggested fee is $44 with it, which is an increase of $13. Item 5, which is treat and non-transport, the current fee is $150. The full cost to provide that service is $299.33 with a suggested fee of $299, which is an increase of $149. The first responder fee, that is a fee that is assessed for our firefighters to respond to an incident. That was not included in the scope of the ambulance fee study because it does not involve the the EMS division, so there were no changes made there. And then item number 7 is the special event standby, which includes 2 staff. And that is a per hour. Currently, the fees charged for that is a fully burdened rate that only includes personnel services and does not consider the cost of the equipment and the fleet associated with that. The full cost for that is $365.44, and the suggested fee of that is $365, and there's not an increase because the current rate is a combination of the personnel rate. The significant increases proposed as suggested fees in the above table are a product of 2 factors. The first factor is the significant lapse in time that has passed since a thorough analysis of actual cost has occurred. I looked back, the previous rate increase occurred in 2014, and the one prior to that was in 2009, and the rate adjustment then was roughly $100. So our fees have increased by about $100 since 2009. The second factor is the lack of an inflationary mechanism to adjust the fees on an annual basis to keep pace with operational cost increases. Wildan, the consultant, recommended the use of an inflator mechanism with the option of the amended fees to prevent the need for drastic adjustments as we are recommending tonight. And staff recommends an inflator increasing the ambulance fees annually based off the consumer price index. A survey was completed to show comparable rates of local area ambulance providers. The rates shown in the table in your staff report indicate that fees being recommended fall in line with the fees of the other ambulance providers in the area. I'll go over that table quickly. American Ambulance of Fresno, which is the largest operating ambulance provider in Fresno County, their ALS1 emergency rate is $2,344, where we are our rate, as suggested, is $2,394. So very similar. The BLS rate for American Ambulance is $1,974. Our rate is $1,995. Their mileage is $49.50 per mile. Our suggested rate is $44. And then the treat non-transport, we don't delineate between ALS and BLS. But our rate is $299, and the American Ambulance does delineate between BLS and ALS, and their rate is between $200 and $500. Amending the fees to the suggested rates will not have a financial impact on those that receive Medi-Cal and Medicare. Those receiving Medi-Cal and Medicare benefits are typically either families or individuals that have low incomes, and those that are on fixed incomes, including the elderly and the disabled population. I also want to highlight that the Medi-Cal and Medicare make up just over 60% of our payer mix for the folks that utilize our ambulance services, so a significant amount. When making decisions that impact the finances of our community, it is important to consider the effects of those it will impact. Both Medi-Cal and Medicare plans pay fixed rates regardless of the fees being charged. Only private insurance, workers' compensation, and private pay will be impacted by the fee increases. And I also want to add that the city does participate in the FireMed program, which is a annual subscription. The cost is $65 per year, and that's something that lessens the financial burden of individuals requiring emergency transport to area hospitals. The fiscal impact of these proposed changes, there are many variables in estimating revenues and expenses associated with the EMS division. Based on the payer mix that we have for the insurance plans, the rough estimates for ambulance billing collections is roughly $250,000 for the upcoming fiscal year, and that's an estimate based on our projected call volume in alignment with our payer mix that we currently have. And then the second part to that is there'll also be a positive impact to revenues from participating in the voluntary rate range program, or what I think everybody is more commonly referred to as the IGT program, which is a significant revenue source for our department. And that's a highly technical moving target. And so to put a number on the increase of that would be speculative at best. So I didn't include that in the report. Last that, it's staff's recommendation to conduct the public hearing and then adopt the resolution revising the fees and ambulance services. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation, Chief. Does council have any questions for Chief Webster at this time?
Chief, I do. I understand that, the prices need to increase. And I know you mentioned here that it's only going to affect private insurance, workers' compensation, and private pay, which are people that are workers that pay for insurance, retirees that pay for insurance. Even with insurance and insurance going up, out-of-pocket expenses are going up. And for a person that went from Selma to Fresno on an ambulance with insurance was a $500 bill out of pocket. This is going to really increase. Some people, it's already getting very difficult for people to pay even that. I'm just wondering how is this going to impact individuals like them? Because this is a lot of money. And they're elderly, they're retired. They live on fixed incomes, but they worked all their lives. I get it. I see the same thing happening to a lot of people. Our insurance keeps going up and we're going to be impacted by this. you know? So where's their break? And I say that because I'm gonna be vocal, you know? We continue to pay and pay out of pocket. And then people don't have to pay anything and get these services paid for. So I have a problem with that because, you know, it's hurting a lot of people, especially middle-class people. So I just feel that this is a little bit too high, especially when I have a person that told me they paid out of pocket $500 for their ambulance ride. So, I mean, that's probably gonna double to 1,000 probably, if something like that happened. So is there any way that this could be maybe adjusted? Or are you just fixed on this type of formula?
So a couple of, I think, points that you were making. I think but made a comment about retirees and elderly and, typically, well, I don't say typically, but once you reach Medicare age, you receive Medicare benefits. Medicare, they have a flat rate that they pay and we are unable to collect anything above what they pay. In regards to the person that you referenced that had a $500 out of pocket, that very well could be what their insurance deductible is. I'm not sure. I don't want to speculate. I will say that the Fire Med program, something that we offer to our citizens, is $65. What that does is anybody that calls 911 that requires transport to an area hospital, it takes whatever their insurance payment is as payment in full. In regards to the formula that is suggested, the study itself was it was an analysis of what our actual costs were to provide that service. And I think that it's important to note that there was a lot of dialogue between our department with the consultant providing the study. And one of the things that we look at is our cost recovery in regards to the payer mix itself. And there is an option for the city to pass on the, I'd say, under reimbursed amount to the citizens that can pay those bills. And that amount was it was 3 times what this was the recommended rate. So this is actually an analysis that shows the cost per user, so to speak, not necessarily like the cost per user that can afford to pay, if that makes sense. The cost recovery for our department, in order to continue to operate, we have to have funding from somewhere, and how we get that funding is through a multitude of programs. We get it through private insurance, we get it through Medi-Cal and Medicare. There's the IGT programs that we participate in. There's the rate range program, which is the one that we get a significant one-time sum from. There's another new IGT program that helps with just public providers. At the end of the day, the EMS services is costly, and in order to provide that service to a community, we have to be able to recover our costs, or we have to be subsidized through the general fund or some sort of other mechanism to ensure that those services are available. With the state of California, their insurance is available to those that are low income and those that tend to be on fixed incomes and that kind of thing. And so looking at what our payer mix is, it's over 60% of our customer base is either a Medi-Cal or Medicare patient, and they're paying that fixed, or I'm sorry, their plans are paying that fixed rate. So, and there's nothing that we can charge them above and beyond that. The second part that I think is important to add is that there's legislation coming down the pipeline that limits ambulance billers to be able to surprise bill people or give kind of bills in addition to what their insurance plans pay. And that is something that all insured know what their rates are, what their deductibles are, and that kind of thing. And so all of the legislation and the fact that we are such a majority of Medi-Cal and Medicare makes it extremely difficult to be able to continue to provide those services because the rates that we are getting or that we're collecting are such a small portion of charge. The other thing that is important to bring up in this study is that due to the different governmental reimbursement programs that we participate in, the new PPGMT program that started January 1st of 2020, that pays an increased rate for Medi-Cal services. It's like a rate add-on that we get. And what that's going to do is negatively, we get money on the front side when we bill, but it's going to decrease the amount of rate range money that we're going to receive. And so we have to adjust to those changes in the way that we are reimbursed as an ambulance service in order to be able to survive going forward. And so these fees, you know, again, it's unfortunate that we haven't made incremental changes throughout the years, and this hasn't been looked at in the past, but we have to make a change going forward in order to be able to sustain as a department and offer those services to our community. And so the kind of ripping off the Band-Aid, so to speak, is going to hurt initially. But looking at the market rate, it's just looking at comparables to the area, and it's not because the city of Selma costs less to run an ambulance company. It's because we just haven't looked at the changes that are necessary to be able to continue to provide those services. And so it's definitely important. And I think that whenever we make changes, especially financial changes that impact our community, it's critical that we look at those impacts. And I think that Will Dan did a great job in identifying the costs and considering the what our situation is here. And as far as your question, going back to the formula, the recommended rates are, you know, our recommendation because that's what we need to be able to continue to operate at the level that we operate and continue to advance and grow with the growth of our community.
Any other questions for Chief Webster at this time?
Can you repeat can you repeat the name of the organization or the program that you guys offer that you charge a certain amount? And, you know, what does it do? Can you elaborate it real quick again? Reiterate that?
Sure. The program is called FireMed, and it's actually offered between the cities of Selma, Reedley, and Dinuba. It's actually managed by the Dinuba Fire Department, but ultimately it's a annual subscription. I want to call it a subscription. That's probably not the right word, but it's something that you apply for annually, and it's a program that you pay $65. It covers a household and the dependents within the household. And ultimately, what it does is it takes whatever your insurance payment is for your ambulance bill as payment in full. It is for folks that call 911 and need transport to an area. And it is within the jurisdictional boundaries of response area. Dinuba has a response area, and I'm sorry, it's Kingsburg. I don't know if I said Reedley earlier. It's Kingsburg, Selma, and Dinuba. So anyway, so that is something that families or individuals can participate in, and that would lessen financial.
Is that
burden.
monthly or is that yearly?
It is annually. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
And
then,
and so just to your point, the $500 bill, if had that individual been a FireMed member, that would have been that individual, and they wouldn't have had to.
And just off of that, do you guys publicize that? Are you guys doing it like, through social media, offering that and let the community know that we're doing that? And have you guys been doing that?
That's a great question. So, I'm very familiar with it with the city of Dinuba, but since I've come to Selma, I haven't gone through the
Okay.
period yet, so I'm not sure what our involvement is in that, but I would assume that that is the case. I know that the administration of that is handled through the city of Dinuba, and they do send out mailers annually to
Nice.
all of the participating cities. And so I'm assuming that we participate in that same thing, but I'm not sure.
Next question, go back and explain to me the seniors. So if they're getting Medicare, they get automatically a secure charge or a certain charge and they can't go any higher. That's the charge they're gonna be charged. And I'm just
Correct.
learning from this. I'm just.
Yeah,
wanna get some
absolutely.
information.
So Medi-Cal and Medicare have fixed rates that they pay for ambulance service. And as a provider for members in those plans, we have to accept their insurance payment as payment in full. And it is at a significantly reduced rate, but that's part of the cost of doing business in California as well as the United States for the.
Last one. Is there an actual cap or financial, an amount, or is does, and I'm going back to the other, were you the fire mid or the Selma, Kingsburg, Dinuba, that $65 annual fee? Is there a certain amount that a person can't make in order for them to qualify, or is it just open to the public? Okay, all right, thank you.
Just a question. So that doesn't seem like the city's hurting, not recovering these fees by participating in the IGT. Seems like there's a surplus. Cities use the IGT for years, the money that's left over. Very lucrative program. So right now, the city is not going in the red because it's not recovering these user fees right now. Is that correct, Chief? It's not running at a loss?
So for the rate range program for 23-24, we just wired our amount and the anticipated revenues are significantly less than what was projected in that. Still waiting for the final numbers on that. But it's, and so.
But there's still revenues. There's still a plus amount. There's still money left over. Still money coming back from the IGT. I get the program. You send the money to the state, they send it to federal, they get more money back, they send it to the city. But there's a sizable amount that builds up in that account. So I'm just wondering, why haven't we seen this before if the user fees were so much less? Why haven't, and you're new, you haven't been here to set that historical perspective, but I mean, these are like double, these fees are like double. So I'm just seeing with this cost efficiency, why didn't this show up in the budget before? Would this be something that a finance director would find or someone with a finance background would hone in on and mention? How did we find out? How did we know?
I can answer. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I got it, I think. So, I think a couple of things. So I've worked for different departments that have operated ambulance companies, the city of Dinuba, right? When you talk about doubling rates, which is significant, right? You have to think about the revenue that we're looking at, the impact. You think doubling rates, you're thinking $5 million is gonna show up. We're projecting $250,000 by doubling our rates, which is, we're not talking changes significantly one direction or the other. The other part that I think is important is, your question is, are we running in the red? The ambulance division is, it is what it operates within the EMS division, but it also subsidizes some of the fire department operations as well, correct? And the reason that occurs is the chain of command. There's there's layers of supervision and administration and all of the logistical needs and all of those things. You know, going back to the IGT program, well, actually just the collections, you know, the study looked at what our calls for service are, what our revenues are. Our ambulance fees are covering 50% of what those costs are in order to operate, which is, you know, far less than 100% cost collection.
Right.
Regardless of these fees being at 100% because of our payer mix, and the fact that Medi-Cal and Medicare pay fixed rates below what our fees are, that's part of the equation in regards to whether or not we run in the red or the black. The costs themselves and the rates that we're charging, again, doesn't consider our cost recovery rates are something like 37% because of the 60% of our payer mix being Medi-Cal and Medicare, right? But we didn't change our fees based on the metric of what our cost recovery is, in a sense, passing on that expense to private pay and private insurance. Otherwise, the rates would have tripled. It wouldn't have been double. The $1,900 would have been $3,700, which I don't think is fair to the folks that are paying taxes and all of those things. And again, going back to the revenues from the rate range program, you know, we're looking at that, but there's going to be a significant difference in the, you know, $3.7 million that we adopted as a target versus what we're going to collect because of changes in those programs and all of that. And critical for our department in order to continue to make these adjustments. And the last thing that I think is really important is those programs, IGT program, the PPGMT program, those are looking backwards. So this year we're getting the revenues from 2022. 2023 is when the new programs. If we don't make these changes today, we're going to be in a position 2 years from now that is going to be significant. And what we're doing is strategizing on well, not necessarily strategizing, we're making recommendations to minimize those impacts today and essentially going to be able to keep us to sustain into the future.
Got it. So just summarizing what I said earlier, and I appreciate those comments. I take them to heart and I get what you're saying. I understand it. But in terms of the criticality of the exigency of the recommendation, it's there is enough IGT and there is enough money in the department and coming in from current operations so that such a drastic increase could be phased in over time without leading to the city having to divest itself of the ambulance service or leading to lower service output. Is that correct?
Mayor, I think to your question, the question that we're answering in general by, first of all, undertaking the study and then presenting the recommendation to the council is the city able to cover its costs with what we're currently charging? We're not looking at, you know, what fund balances we have that could potentially subsidize, you know, what we're not covering. I'm not sure if you're aware, Mayor, but our municipal code, chapter 12 or title 12, chapter 3 requires the city to recover 100% of its ambulance costs. And so what this study is doing is bringing us in line with our own municipal code to make sure that we're recovering all our costs. You know, to your question, I don't know why it's been so long since this was looked at. You know, since 2009, we've only increased it $100. You know, you look at the fees that are being charged by the agencies around us, we're just coming in line with them, right? And so what we're charging is not unreasonable. The question is not, are we able to support you know, a subsidy to all the users? And keep in mind, all the users that use our ambulance service are not necessarily residents of Selma. You know, we go outside of the city limits. So we have, you know, we could potentially be subsidizing costs for people who don't live in Selma. And so, but for the most part, I think that the goal here is to make sure that our revenues are in line with our expenditures so that we're not having to subsidize because the municipal code says we have to recover 100% of our costs.
You
And
brought a good point. So why wouldn't we want to charge more for the folks that don't live in Selma? Why wouldn't we want to put a surcharge for those folks? Because like you're saying, you don't just, it's not just Selma, you're using surrounding cities. So wouldn't we want to do a surcharge for those people versus our own people?
So the study itself and the or the suggested rates is a reflection of what the costs are for the department to operate. And the charges will be different dependent, I guess, on the mileage that is incurred based on where the individuals are transported to. But at the end of the day, the cost for the department is the cost of the department. And that's a strategy that could be considered, but our recommendation is to just have the one charge that is that. And because that's what the study recommended in regards to what our costs.
Did you get a study as to what percentage is Medi-Cal pay, services and rate payers or private payers? Did you get a percentage of service?
The private pay is actually a very small percentage of what we collect. Medi-Cal and Medicare was just over 60, it was like 63%, I believe. So that's the majority. And then there are a mix of private insurance companies, Kaiser, Anthem, all of those. Private pay was a very, very small. I don't have that figure readily available to you. I could, if I could find that, but the significant amount is the Medi-Cal and Medicare folks.
which is why it's been able to run so long since 2009 or whatever, the last 3 years without an increase, just because it's such a small pool. I guess my point is not to take issue with the report findings. I agree with that. The increase has to happen. Could the ratepayers get a break and phase in the increase over 3 to 5 years rather than all at once? Because it just looks like an absolute huge 100% increase in the rates.
We require a change to the municipal code.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public? Oh, but we are in a public hearing. With that, we will open the public hearing tonight and ask the public step up and weigh in. Thank you, Chief. Thanks for your presentation.
Jim Avalo, 1701 Dinuba. On the Pfizer rate increase, what I understand, over 60%, 63% is Medi-Cal or Medicare operation. And also the other question, I know we're not in a drastic situation. I know that because thanks to Measure S in the past that was created for public safety and the police and fire. But at the same time, I see the concerns for the future. I see what he's actually leading up to, the fire chief there. And I know that in the future, there'll be some cost. And the reason why the probably costs are down, the virus, the pandemic, not everybody's being in dire need of the emergency situation right now. And notice that public health facilities are open up, like United Health and all those facilities have opened up. So people are being more diligently going to the doctor and going to the facilities before the inevitable happens. And I understand the seniors, because seniors, there's a touch and go in life with them in life. And I understand the Medicare people because, they're low income people, and I understand, they're not, how would I say it, in life, they're not the believers of going to the health real until it's too late. I understand that, I get it. But at the same time, I understand that what the fire chief is leading up to, because in the future, we're gonna have to share these costs down the road. I get this understanding what he was saying in the public safety sector. But at the same time, it's high right now. I get that. But at the same time, I have to say, well, you know what? The fire department needs a fire station down the road. Do we take the money from Measure S to help the ambulance? Or we split the cost somewhere down the line and still provide the fire station down the road, because the big ladder truck, it needs a place to park, you know what I mean? And I also believe that public safety is number one. In my book, it's always been number one. I believe that, hey, when you call the police or fire, they're there to save people's lives. And I tell myself, at what cost do I tell myself? Should I apples or oranges? How, you determine, should I raise the cost up and pay more to save someone's life? Or, and I like what he indicated this program.
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone on the phone or online? With that, we will close the public hearing and refer the matter back to council. Does council have any comments before we make a motion? Okay, I guess I will call. Oh, one last thing. On the cost recovery, we would recover those costs, absolutely. But my suggestion was to phase it in to lessen the burden to the ratepayers, kind of like we give microchips out and don't recover our costs on that too. Which is part of a city service and product that it's providing now in transition and in return for a larger payoff down the line. So I would look at that principle. Is there a motion on this item?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
No.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
No. Okay. Future agenda items. Council request for future agenda items not subject to public comment. Items require a consensus. Does council have any future agenda items they'd like to propose tonight?
I have. I have one. I like to bring back the business license fees for the individuals, and the families, or the small ones. So I'd like to see where that rates, how that comes about. Okay?
Mayor Pro Tem, just for clarification, are you looking for just an analysis of what it is? Are you looking for us?
I think I want to know what is the criteria? Where's that state? Like a person that came up, face painting, she's not making lots of money. And so if you're going to do that kind of fee, you're going to just take them off of the business world. So I think we should be more adaptable for that. Okay?
Sure. Yep. Thank you.
Is there consensus to put a review of business license fees on a future council meeting?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that will go on. Does anybody have any future agenda items they would like to propose at this time? That will move on to departmental reports. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, just a couple of updates. On March 15th, we will be having I guess a combination staff appreciation breakfast and internal staff development day. And that will go from the morning to after lunch, about 1 o'clock. So City Hall will be closed for most of that, or for all of that morning until 1 o'clock. And we'll reopen at after lunch. I think Councilmember Guerra at a previous meeting requested an update, or maybe it was the mayor, I'm sorry, I don't recall, about a finance director update. And so with regard to that, we do have an offer out. We've had made multiple employment offers to candidates. However, they have not, one of them has not passed the background, and another one remain with their current employer because they received the promotion at their current employer. So it's tough. We're competing against a bunch of other agencies for that particular position. And, you know, we've got other cities that are struggling to hire finance directors as well. I mean, it's not unique to Selma, but we're turning over every rock. I will say that our finance team is doing a great job keeping up with our accounting, our budget process, which I'm leading. The staff is doing a fantastic job making sure that our expenses are under control. And we're caught up. We're basically caught up with audits, which was not the case for a long time. We're essentially caught up with accounts or bank reconciliations. You know, in the meantime, we've been developing policies foundational to the budget or to the financial accounting process. We rolled out new software. I mean, regardless of whether we have a finance director or not, the finance gets done, the accounting gets done. Would I like to have a finance director? 100%, because that relieves me of the necessity to have to act as the finance director. But at the end of the day, we all know what we're doing here, and we have a great staff, and we'll just keep plugging along until the right candidate comes aboard. Other than that, just would like to thank all the staff, not just the department heads. We're basically fully staffed except for that finance director. We'll have some staff presentations at the next meeting, which are very exciting. So I would just like to make sure that you know, all the staff at at the line level as well get the recognition that they deserve, because they work very hard. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Deputy City Manager Jerome King.
Good evening. Last week, staff met with members or staff from the EPA as well as Toxic Substance Control, DTSC, regarding our brownfield site located off of Golden State Boulevard, which used to be a pole treatment facility. Yeah, utility pole treatment facility. They gave us an update on the groundwater contamination plume that has migrated from that site underground, that affects more residents in Fresno County, not necessarily city residents. What they told us was if you're on the Cal Water system, that's the best place for you to be, because that water is significantly treated by Cal Water. They've reached out to many of the property owners, mostly near the McCall Mountain View area, with regard to providing bottled water, providing treatment to their wells and things like that. So we're having ongoing conversations with their office about alternatives, because it's inherently easier maybe to put them on the city water system rather than them having ongoing treatment for 5, 10, 15, 20 years over time. So we've had discussions with them. Staff also met with our ESRI representatives with regard to providing more mapping resources. So with, you know, piggybacking on the CIP discussion, I think staff is going to work towards providing maps and other information available to the public through the website. So those resources are already funded under the existing budget. So we should be able to push out various informational items, zoning maps, you know, general plan maps, maybe some limited facility stuff, maybe detour maps, things like that through the website using GIS. So,
And with the RMA, would it be appropriate to notify them under the pollution coverage that there might be a claim made in the future, either from a liability perspective or from a first party property damage perspective?
I believe most of those property owners have already been notified, and it appears either on their title records that they could be subject to some sort of abatement or remediation activities through the EPA. Again, those are mostly county residents, not city residents. But with regard to that, the EPA under most of the NEPA and other environmental protection laws are EPA is the responsible agency for and DT in combination with DTSC for remediation of those issues.
And not to get too much into the weeds, but is there some sort of mutual waiver of subrogation between the Fresno County and the City of Selma that says, hey, if it's on our premises, it's our problem, we cover it, we don't go after you or, you know, whoever covers you?
I mean, again, with regard to brownfields, I think the EPA assumes most of the liability with regard to enforcement and liability with regard to the cleanup.
Okay. Thank you. Fire Chief Webster.
The month of February was a tough month for the fire department with the passing of firefighter Chris Nelson. I just want to thank city staff, city council, and the citizens for the support. The family was extremely appreciative of the services that were provided in memory of Chris. And so I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for that and to report.
Thanks. Administrative Services Director.
Good evening. The IT department, we recently transitioned to Office 365, and phase 1 is complete and we're entering into phase 2. Phase 2 should be done within the next 30 days. Also, the HR and payroll department, we did our kickoff meeting for an implementation of a new payroll system and core HR system, which we actually do not have any type of core HR system. So I'm super excited. We get to move away from Excel spreadsheets. So we'll actually have a system that is amazing. So I'll be able to report more about that later on. That's all I have.
Thank you. City Clerk, Public Information Officer.
Mayor, council members, members of the public, just a reminder about the primary elections. The voting center for Selma is located at the Selma Neighborhood Resource Center, right across the street from the old police station. The voting center has been open every day since Saturday, February 24th, and will be open tomorrow, Tuesday, March 5th, from 7 a.m. To 5 p.m. 2 alternate methods are also provided. You can use the ballot mailbox, which is located at the library, to drop off your ballot or mail it by tomorrow. You just need to confirm that it is postmarked no later than March 5th.
Thank you. Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Like I said at the last meeting, new supervisor started on Monday, the 26th, last Monday. Really excited about that. He literally has been thrown in the fire. I'm out 2 leads right now and an admin assistant on medical. So being that I was gone from Tuesday the rest of the week and at conference in Palm Springs, he did very well for his first week getting thrown in the mix. So we're really excited about him coming on board. We're continuing right now. Our big task at hand is the cleaning of the existing storm drain infrastructure. So we have the truck from Haker that we're renting for what we're assuming about 3 months period of time. We're going through and we're cleaning out the infrastructure. And with that, we're identifying for our GIS mapping that we're trying to implement and get up to speed for city infrastructure. There is a lot of stuff that is not identified that is in the ground, literally exists, but we don't have it mapped. So in this process, it's helping us discover that GIS information that we need to get into the system so we're collecting data, we're taking videos with a new piece of equipment, a pole camera that we purchased. So we're getting a lot of data back from that. And that's tremendous for us because I can tell you, I will be presenting at the next council member, and I'll jump forward real quick. In the cleaning process, we've identified several issues. Last week, I received a phone call from the Public Works Director in Kingsburg. We had a sinkhole that was about 13.5 feet deep, about 20 feet across, and about 15 feet wide. This sinkhole opened up over our storm drain infrastructure that was installed in 1963. It was pre SKF. It actually terminates in an SKF pond at the treatment plant that SKF has wanted to get rid of so that they could utilize the pond, and they can't do it while we're putting stormwater in there. So through this process, this sinkhole, we had an emergency repair where it collapsed basically. I will be presenting for emergency funding for this. The work has been completed. We've sent stuff through Megan for contract, making sure that we're all up to speed. This was a forced account or time and material process to get this work done. So identifying while we're cleaning the system, these problemed issues is critical to our infrastructure and our GIS. I can tell you in the same location where we've just finished today repairing that and putting everything back the way it was before the issue occurred, we have an 830-foot long crack in the top of this pipe directly adjacent in the same line that's about ready to fall in. So identifying the neglect to our infrastructure is becoming very apparent very quick. So I think this is good information. I think that all the council members, Mr. Mayor, current staff, we need to understand where we're at with that infrastructure, what condition it's in. It's part of the, not only the GIS, but what David Horn and his firm has been doing to identify and start categorizing with urgency from top to bottom on not only our streets, our alleys, our lighting issues that we're having, but also storm drain infrastructure, and curb inlets, the way that the streets are draining. There's a lot of stuff that's being uncovered from this. So that's our big task at hand right now. That's what we are actually spending a lot of effort on.
In other words, that CIP number is going to rise significantly.
Yeah, remember that is a moving target. That is a living document. Keep in mind, you know, coming from my background, I have 37 years in heavy civil construction. What's happening right now, what we're addressing is right in my wheelhouse. I'm working with assistant city manager and city manager on solutions to this problem. What is the most economical, cost effective, and is going to prepare us for the future of what is to come in development and GIS, CIP projects. So I think that this is good. It's terrible as far as timing. Like, we don't want to be dealing with this issue, but at the same time, we are also addressing things that need to be dealt with. So I think that it's critical that we continue this work to uncover what is really happening under the streets in the city of Selma. So I think that that's a very important task that we're working on. Really exciting news is, of course, this Thursday, the 7th, we have our bid opening for the Salazar building. So I'm super excited about that. I really want to try to get that building back up to speed and online, somewhere close to when kids are getting out of school this summer. That was always our end goal, to produce an area for those kids to get back to the Boys and Girls Club, out of weed and seed. So pretty exciting that that's going to open on Thursday at 2 o'clock. And then we also have the senior center is the following Thursday, the 14th. So really excited about getting that bid opening taken care of, seeing where we're at and moving forward with the rehabilitation of those buildings. That's
Director Hung?
one other thing. We are, now that I have my supervisor in place, we are currently working on getting the RFP out for Bretlinger Park for the wrought iron fence we spoke about a month ago, and also the sidewalk. So we've understood through meetings and with staff where the funding will come from. I think we're going to use some ARPA and some Measure S funds, I believe, to get that project. Measure C, I was close. Measure C and ARPA funds. So we're excited. We're going to get that one done and try to get that out in the next couple of weeks. So
Thank you.
I believe the Amberwood bid opens this week as well. Is that correct?
yes, Amberwood opens this week, and I've had little contact with that job currently. That's mostly David Horn. So again, I'm at 3 months and a week as of today, and so I'm trying to get up to speed. But that's what I've got for you right now. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Police Chief Alcaraz.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. So yeah, I've got quite a bit to report. So our homicide on February 23rd of this year, unfortunately, the victim passed a wound, and our investigators are currently investigating that incident. On February 29th, we had a shooting in the parking lot of Carl's Jr. And in that incident, our officers arrived on scene within 30 seconds. However, the suspect had fled the scene by that time. In your packet, you have a press release with regards to the Carl's Jr. shooting. Well, the shooting that occurred in the parking lot of Carl's Jr. The suspect was taken into custody on Saturday. We have a very strong case. We're very excited. I wanted to thank our investigators that have worked tirelessly since the 23rd of February. They've written numerous search warrants. We're waiting for data to come in to sift through that. That's going to help us cement a direction with regards to these cases. Additionally, I would just like to add that when we do have critical events, press releases are sent out as soon as practical. So we try to be very transparent when in getting information out. However, we do also have to balance the investigation and not putting out information that's going to inhibit prosecution later down the road. So I understand that's frustrating to the community. However, our ultimate goal is to get a successful prosecution. So we put out the information that we can. If there was any public, if we were concerned for the public, we would absolutely get that information out. I can tell you with regards to the homicide case, we've been in constant contact with a board member at the Gurwada to make sure that they have as much information as that we can give them. We did not feel there was a hate crime based on the information received preliminarily, and that has also been cemented a little bit more with information. And I'm sure as we get more data, that's going to continue to cement that we don't feel it's a hate crime. We felt this was just a tragic incident, wrong place, wrong time type of thing. And that's unfortunate. That's just the world we live in today. I will tell you that I understand our community's concerns. I'm concerned. I'm the police chief. My job is to make this community safe. I've worked diligently. I've ensured our people are working diligently. And when they're not, there's expectations and standards that we're holding people to. And we're very excited about that because what you'll see in the first week of April, you'll have an annual police department report, the first time that we put one out in quite some time, that will annotate and compare 2022 to 2023. And we're very excited about those numbers. But that's not me. That is all of our employees working diligently and stepping out of their comfort zones and doing more. So we're very excited. I'm very proud of my staff. And hats off to our patrol unit on the night of the Carl's Jr. shooting, as well as our investigating unit, because they did a phenomenal job to get a very dangerous felon off the streets. And I would also add that the suspect in the Carl's Jr. shooting was wanted by other agencies for violent crimes. So this is an individual that really should not have been on the streets. However, I'm not going to get into the legislative aspect of this. It's just, it is what it is. And our staff is doing the best that they can with the limited resources. So again, I can't thank them enough. Countless hours, time away from their families, and I absolutely appreciate them. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that out loud. So those were our two shootings. And just because someone did comment, our other two shootings that occurred at the convenience stores, that suspect was identified after the first shooting very quickly. Finding him, again, is going to be the challenge. And we have the United States Marshals. This is a federal agency. That is what they do. And they've not been able to find him for over 30 days. So it just makes it difficult, but we have every resource that we check in with weekly to make sure that they didn't forget about us, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So again, so I just want to kind of make those mentions. In front of you have the January Part 1 crime stats, and those are the stats that we report to the Department of Justice. Domestic violence is not a crime stat that we report. Actually, it's actually included in the aggravated assaults. And on this back page of that same flyer is a crime mapping. It's really not the best, but it's what our current program allows as we start to navigate that system. So we're looking at other softwares that can crime map for us that might be a little more legible. But I will say that there are certain crimes that we will not crime map based on the confidentiality rights to our victims that we cannot. It would put us in a libelous position. But the crimes that we can will absolutely get those on the map. And again, we'll look at different softwares that might be more legible for council and for our community.
What does green mean, Chief? Green squares as opposed to an orange
A
square?
crime. Red is high, like a high intensity.
Uh,
So that's kind of like our Walmart area where
Okay.
we have a lot of larcenies, a lot of,
That's a high frequency area.
absolutely. We know that, especially with retail crime, that's just part of our current crime trends, if you will.
Green just means something happened there.
Green means something happened there, yes. And then, on top of that, so those are those. Did you have any questions? I apologize.
No, I asked one. Okay, sure. On the report for the next time, can we get the rest of the months? Or you're doing another report?
So I will give these out every month. In April, you'll get an annual report.
Great, okay.
Should be
That's what I was
accumulation,
asking.
accumulation of every year, but every month you'll get a report of our Part 1 crime stats. So for instance, is it March 5th? March 5th?
March.
So it's too soon. We have to report to DOJ on March 10th, the 10th of every month. So as soon as those reports are validated and verified in our records division, then we'll report them to DOJ and then we'll get those crime stats out to you. So if it's not the first council meeting of the month, it'll be the second council meeting of the month. Then at the end of the year, we'll compile all those stats and compare them to the previous year.
Okay, thank you.
Additionally, March 7th, we'll be having coffee with the cop at our Selma owner. Goodness gracious, Selma? I'm making up words now. Selma Animal Services Center from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I welcome our citizens and community to come and talk to us there and check out the cute puppies and I think, there was a rabbit, but it got fostered out. So we'll talk more to that in just a bit. And a few felines. It is well, on March 16th, we're having a free microchipping clinic at the Selma Animal Services Center. And again, this is going to help with us in reconnecting those animals with their owners so that we can get them registered for future issues or concerns. And what we'll say is what we have done for every animal that gets out and that's at large and we reconnect that with its owner, we're taking down the information, verifying that the animal belongs to that owner via microchip. And then if they get out again, then there will be a fine. It will be fined on their second offense. Because until we start enforcing these ordinances, then we're going to get compliance. And I think I've spoke to that earlier. So it's unfortunate we have to use that enforcement piece, but we're doing everything we can to get our community educated, up to speed, and then again, get those animals reconnected with their owners.
Chief, what's a reclaim fee?
Mayor, I couldn't even tell you.
Gotcha. There's no reclaim fee the first time.
No, for the first time, no. Again, that's part of our ability to bring that owner in so that we can find out who that animal belongs to, so that later on we can either reconnect them and then cite, and we know exactly who to cite.
You go get the animal, you bring them in, you microchip if they have a microchip or if the owner comes in.
We
No
know
harm,
exactly
no
where to
foul.
go.
Here you go. But
Yes,
don't
sir.
do it again.
Second one, though, they will be cited. Yes, sir. And then, let me scoot back. I have the statistics for the month of February for animal services. So via Pet Point, February 1st to February 29th, there were 52 animals that entered the shelter. 4 animals were adopted. 21 animals were returned to their owners. 26 animals were transferred to rescue partners. 1 wild animal was safely released back into the wild. I think that might have been the turtle, but I don't know for sure.
Bless you. Chief, do you have a report? We get a report?
I just have an email. We can provide them.
Mayor, we can send out the full statistics after the chief's report, after the
Great.
council meeting.
Okay, thank you for that.
So currently there are 13 dogs at the shelter and 1 rabbit, but the rabbit is in foster care. Our current RTO, return to owner rate, is 38%. National average for shelters is 3 to 5%. We're focusing our efforts on getting animals back to their families. This keeps shelter populations at a manageable level. We also had 41 field calls that they responded to. 2 animals were returned to their owners and did not enter the shelter. Unfortunately, 8 animals were deceased. 12 animals were transported to the shelter, and one animal owner received assistance in correcting a tethering violation. The Animal Service Center also held a spay and neutering for felines, in which we subsidized the spay and neutering for our Selma citizens. We have recouped a large amount of that money, and we are, believe we have grant funding for the rest of the monies that it costs for this spay and neutering. They also, and again, we're offering the free microchipping on March 16th. And I'm going to read this. The Animal Services Center is also working on a program to have residents take shelter pets on field trips, i.e. to like Home Depot, take them for a walk around the Home Depot or a park or something, with the purpose of getting those animals acclimated to being pets and helping with temperament and behavior. So we're very excited about that program, and we should be getting that out shortly. And that is all.
Thank you, Police Chief. All right, council reports. Councilmember Trujillo.
So first, before I do my council reports, I'd like to just report to the council that I attended a Southeast Regional Solid Waste Commission meeting on February 26th at 4 p.m. I'd like to report back that we approved the I think it's on Dinuba, we approved a 6-foot fence around the building, the whole facility, because it was been deteriorating. And they presented the budget. Budget came back negative. We're positive, but we just had a drop. But we are solid in regards. We'll end up with a balanced budget with about $797,000. Other concerns were that the facility is being we're having analysis review in regards to the facility itself, in regards to the future plans of some of the emissions that are being let out of there. In regards to myself, I'd like to, first of all, I neglected to inform the council that I'd like to have one of my residents, one of my constituents in my community, in my district, was honored through Fresno PD as an employee of the year. And being a resident and a resident of my district, I feel that it would be nice for us to give them a certificate of appreciation in the next city council meeting. I forgot. I don't know where we're supposed to ask for this. So if I can get a consensus to give them a recognition and bring them out to the council, I really appreciate that. The other is, go ahead.
Councilman Tree, are you asking for consensus now? Okay. City Attorney, is that, do we have to have a consensus to go back to the future agenda items?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate at this time to get the consensus to reopen future agenda items and then get the consensus from
Okay,
council.
can I get a consensus to go back? I failed to do that. I apologize. I didn't look at my notes. Can I get a consensus? Okay. Okay.
Okay, and now the consensus for the recognition.
I would like to ask the council to give a recognition to one of my constituents in my district that was actually given an award as an employee of the year at the Fresno PD.
And what's his name?
His name is Leonard Cabrera.
Do we have council consensus? Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. And next one, I just wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce. They put on a really nice crab feed. It was really nice to see all the business people out there, and the crab feed, it actually helps the chamber, so they can actually help, promote business owners. So I attended that. That was really nice, and I'm proud of them putting out a good spill out there. I want to reiterate the fact that, great job to all our staff, department heads, and just everybody in general, for the, proposed 10-year CIP. It means a lot. It's the beginning of something that really will get our community to be focused and for our new future. I also want to thank all our staff. I'm not going to just say Public Works because this should be saying Public Works, but I want to just recommend and recognize everyone because of all this rain. I've been seeing people out there in the rain. And as I pass by, I just think of them and my heart goes out to them for all the hard work they were doing. I want to end it with this, to reiterate what our HR person said. Think of this. We're actually just going away from an Excel worksheet for our HR and payroll department. Being that I'm in finance and I've been doing accounting for 30 years, I just, I'm a small little accountant, but I just find it so amazing that we're actually talking about bringing in a software for municipal government and we're going to exchange it from a Excel worksheet. If that doesn't ring a bell to our community in regards to the concerns of what we've been doing in the last 15 years, I don't know what does. But I want you guys all to know that, you know what? Thank God the city council is moving the envelope, bringing in people that are going to be bringing in high caliber decision-making. So for that, I just want to bring that's so much and is so important to bring up. And I just thank you guys all for the hard work you guys are doing. And that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro.
Yes, I just want to say thank you. And I feel your pain about the Excel spreadsheets because when I started working, we had Excel spreadsheets too. And I just could not fathom going from a payroll system that we had online to Excel. But yeah, just thank you to staff for all your hard work. You guys are just doing a really phenomenal job in moving our city forward. And, I love to see the construction signs. I know, some people don't like it because, they are an inconvenience. But it just really speaks volumes for growth. And so I really appreciate that. Just a couple of things I have. I did attend Chris Nelson's funeral services, and it was a very beautiful service. I wasn't able to attend the gravesite or the afterwards, but it was really nice to see everyone there, and just it was just a beautiful thing to see. I was invited to do the Read Across America at Indianola School, and it's the first time that I did it, and it was really, really I really enjoyed it because the kids were just really listening and attentive with the books that we were reading and very good conversations. I read to third, fourth, and fifth graders at Indianola School. And the book that I read to them was I Am Courage, a Book of Resilience. And so to me, it really resonated to me because I feel like I've just had to have a lot of courage, being on council and just overall. And I really had to be, resilient on things. The other thing is that I will not be physically at the meeting next meeting. I will go ahead and have Raina, give Raina and our council the information, but I'll be down in Solvang at a housing conference. It's the 18th, I think it's the 18th, right? Yes, the next meeting is the 18th. So I'll go ahead and send that information over to Raina and council. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it for now.
Councilmember Guerra.
I also attended the celebration of life services for Chris Nelson. I just want to say the fire department, you guys did a phenomenal job. It was beautiful. The camaraderie with everyone there, staff. I mean, it just showed volume, first class all the way. I just think you guys did an awesome job and just really touched home. So, and then the other thing, our family served at the Christian Cafe in honor of Chris Nelson, and his family attended, and it was really special. So I just want to tell you guys did a phenomenal job. I appreciate staff, appreciate everybody that works so hard for our city, especially during the winter time. I mean, we see how hard it is to be out there during the rain, the storms, We saw the flooding, you know, saw the trucks out there. I just want to appreciate everybody that does so much for our community. And then I just have a few things that came across. I had some people ask me, when are they going to finish the corner of, I want to say it's 99 and First. I'm not sure what that little market is called, but it's right across from Helio, what was your brother?
Kyle.
What's his? Roscoe Dogs, yeah. There's that area, they haven't completed his corner. And it's still,
For the downtown improvement project, oh, the Golden State
State,
project.
yeah.
That's a good question. We'll follow up on that. I don't
Okay.
have that.
And then
completely.
also on Chevron, over there, the corner of Floral and 99 or Golden State. That one's still,
Let's see.
that one's still under construction? Okay. Yeah, second, right? Chevron? Okay. And then do we have an update in regards to the new gas station on Second Street, convenience store? Do we know when that's going to be completed?
Because, okay, so there's the Chevron that's currently under construction on Second Street and Young Street.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I just spoke of,
You're saying that's the previous one or the current one?
current.
Current one, okay, so they're working to finish the offsite improvements with that. I think they have some PG&E issues that they're working through there. They have some offsite improvement, and they have a sign issue that was placed out in the right of way that needs to be relocated, so we're working that with the property owner.
Okay.
Councilman Guerra,
Yeah.
there is a Chevron at Floral and Woodson on the northwest
There is.
intersection.
Right,
And I think that's what you're referring to with regards to the completion of that
of the corner, right.
And so
So I can tell, are you talking about like the ADA ramps that are unfinished? Okay, so we are waiting for PG&E.
Oh.
And I was just in a conversation on a phone call today with LaRue, who is from the county, Fresno County, who is our project manager for that project. And we're waiting on PG&E. And yeah, and so besides that being an issue, that we need PG&E in to complete that part of the project.
Mhm.
We're at their mercy, but we are also having to run, excuse me, battery operated timers for all of our new center median planting because of that same power that needs to be completed by PG&E for that project. So timeline, like I spoke to LaRue today, he has no clue. PG&E is not very forthcoming with that kind of information. So we are basically incompleted because of PG&E.
Okay. And then speaking of PG&E, do we have an update on their building in regards to, you know, where they used to be?
No, I mean, they were supposed to list it for sale this year, and I don't believe that that's happened yet. But I can follow up with their representative to see what the status is.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes, thank you for the staff for all the hard work they're doing. I did attend the service for the fireman, Chris Nelson. The neatest thing was when you came out of the church to see all those fire engines, you know, it was really nice. I took a picture of that. And then plus some of the fire trucks from other cities. So it was very totally respected. The crab feed by the chamber, we fed about over 200 people. So there was a lot of crab going out that door. And just to announce, Chamber will be having an awards dinner on March 28th. And this is the event we have every year that we salute the Citizen of the Year, Business of the Year, Distinguished Service Person, Educator of the Year, Eggs Business of the Year, Junior Citizen of the Year. So this is a really nice dinner to go to that salutes the really, people that earn their title for the city. So that would be a good one for you guys to go see. Okay, thank you.
I want to say I appreciate the citizens using whatever platform they can, like Facebook and Instagram. That's the platform of the masses. You know, when city council here restricts and takes away public comment, what else are we supposed to do? But I fully respect social media, and I appreciate that people get on there and have a voice who otherwise would remain voiceless or have that voice constrained by threats or by fewer opportunities to weigh in on these important public matters. And I want to thank everybody who stayed here tonight to last throughout this city council meeting. I attended Selma firefighter Chris Nelson's mass at St. Joseph's Catholic Church. It was a great celebration of life, and it was awesome to see all the firefighters that came out to support him, his memory, and his family. I remember after Chris had his accident, he came to see me with his wife, and he is such a fighter. I mean, it's just amazing how long he lasted. And his mom said at the Christian Cafe last week, when we served dinner in his honor and gave Ernestine, his wife, an apron, she said he was in so much pain at the end that it's better for him to be looking down on us from above. And she firmly believed that. And so do I. I know he's looking out for us, just like he did in life. He's got his wings over us. And I thank him for all his work and his sacrifices. I thank every hardworking city employee for their hard work and their sacrifice. And I thank the council and all the volunteers and all the people who staff nonprofits. They don't get paid. They do it because they love it. They love what they do. And I really appreciate that. And I thank them for that. And we should honor them as a city. And shame on us for not honoring all of them. I attended a Selma Cemetery District Board meeting. They are in the CUP phase for a new cemetery that really needs to happen. I met with Cal Water, a couple of representatives, Stuart, and someone else who does the rates to discuss rates and what's going to happen. And the city infrastructure, as the Public Works Department director said, it's really important to work with them on that. And they've been a very good partner. As Deputy City Manager said, it's important to have them tie in. We do have a business that would really love to get a water line out there, and we'll see if that happens in the future. I met with Citizen to discuss ethnicity relations after the murder last week. I met with a developer who came to me and wants to develop along the Stillman corridor again tonight. Reiterated that because with this CIP, we're going to need the money as a city to do a lot of improvements. And we're going to need to generate that some way. And that could be through, of course, through value added land for property taxes eventually, but also through our commercial development. And, you know, we really need to get that Stillman corridor developed and get a Costco over there. That's really important. And we can do it if we make it if this council would make it a priority. We served dinner, as I said, at the Christian Cafe. I read to students at Indianola School for Read Across America. I read Pepe the Pampered Pooch, which I've read every year for 12 years now. It's such a great book, and it's about a shelter dog named Pepe. Big surprise there. And, you know, the first graders loved it. The second graders were okay with it. Fourth graders a little bored, and sixth graders were not having it. But it was still a fun day to be there. As I said earlier, I also met with Robert Phipps, who's the interim executive director regarding funding issues for the city of Selma in the future. I attended the COG meeting Thursday night, the FCRTA board meeting as well, and be on the executive search committee for Robert Phipps and for the interim executive director representing our city on that one. All right. Thanks everybody for coming out. We're adjourned. Good night.